Chapter 409. Han Fei didn't know if the heroes' souls counted as undead creatures, but each of them was as strong as an advanced dangling fisher or even stronger. And now, there were hundreds of these heroes' souls, and the number seemed to be increasing. Ordinary people, even a group of peak-level dangling fishers, wouldn't dare to say that they could stand still here. Running away would definitely be their first choice. For example, Han Fei was holding a flash stone in his hand. If there was anything wrong with these hero souls, he would definitely run away regardless of the treasure trove. However, the seemingly dangerous hero soul didn't attack. Instead, it drew a circle for Han Fei. This circle, as if born from nothingness, flickered and gradually turned into a gate. After this circle was formed, these hero souls raised their weapons, pointed at Han Fei, and pressed forward step by step, trying to force Han Fei into the circle. Han Fei gritted his teeth. Did Xia Xiaochan really run into this place? God knew what methods she had to pass through all the obstacles and finally find this place. Han Fei hesitated for a moment and stepped into the circle. He didn't know if this was the right choice. But he knew that this treasure trove would definitely be one of the most dangerous in the undersea city, and ordinary treasure troves couldn't compare with it at all. His eyes wandered, and his vision was hazy as if it were an illusion. When Han Fei could see this place clearly, he was shocked to find that he was standing on a street. And around him, there were all kinds of people coming and going. Han Fei immediately wondered if he had entered a nightmare. The undersea city was something that happened countless years ago. Was there an underground city here? The hexagon starfish asked, "Where is this?" Han Fei's eyes widened. "Don't talk. Hey, boy, don't get in the way." A big man carrying a long knife as tall as a man walked past Han Fei and pushed him to the side of the road. To Han Fei's shock, a man and a woman were walking past him and talking to each other. The man said, "Xiaoyi, this big fish tide is not a joke. You'd better not go." The woman said, "No, I'm also very strong. I can fight. Since the main city fell, there have been hundreds of siege battles, and I've participated in more than a dozen of them. Man, listen to me. It's a little different this time. It's said that the fish tide is especially fierce. No, I want to go. I want to be by your side." Han Fei only heard a few simple words, and the couple had already gone far away. The main city has fallen. Big fish tide. Hundreds of attacks. Han Fei was confused. He was about to continue eavesdropping on the couple's conversation when he was chided by a group of soldiers who rushed out from behind. This group of soldiers was fully armed, and they were all clad in battle robes. The weapons in their hands were all battle spears that were almost as tall as their bodies. That was not the point. What shocked Han Fei was that the dozens of soldiers in this team were all peak-level dangling fishers. When this group of people walked past, a soldier was left behind. The man climbed to a roof and shouted from there, "Attention, everyone! The 187th fish tide is coming. Everyone, get ready for battle before tonight." All the dangling fishers gathered in the outer city. But those who disobey will be executed. After shouting those words, the soldier jumped down from the roof and chased after the main force. After the soldier shouted, the crowd suddenly burst into an uproar. Someone shouted, "Damn it, I've waited for so long. I'm going to earn some honor this time." Someone quickly squeezed through the crowd. "Damn it, let's go home and have sex with our wives." Someone yelled, "Son of a bitch, there's a fish tide every year. Can't you just let us have sex?" Someone shouted crazily, "Damn it." Someone was horrified. "So soon? Didn't you say that it would take 2 or 3 days?" The street, which had been relatively peaceful, was immediately filled with noise and clamor. Han Fei gasped hard. This time, it didn't seem to be a dream or an environment. All of this was incomparably real. It was so real that he could see the sun in the sky and feel its warmth. Han Fei asked, "Master Hexagon Starfish, is there such a realistic illusion?" The hexagon starfish hid on Han Fei's shoulder and didn't dare to open his eyes. He just subconsciously replied, "It doesn't seem to be an illusion." Han Fei stood aside and happened to stand in front of a stall selling shrimp dumplings. The boss was an old man who was an advanced great fishing master. He looked at Han Fei and said, "Little friend, would you like a shrimp dumpling? We're going to fight a war. You can't work until you're full." Han Fei rolled his eyes and asked with a smile, "How much is a shrimp?" The boss smiled and said, "Not much, not much. Just one mid-quality pearl. My shrimp dumplings are all made of level 25 red feather shrimp. I guarantee you'll be satisfied with the taste." Han Fei took out a mid-quality pearl and enjoyed it in front of the stall while the boss chuckled. After taking a bite, Han Fei was sure that this was definitely not an illusion. Both the taste buds and the feeling of the shrimp juice flowing on the tip of his tongue were extremely real. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, "Boss, do you think I can survive tonight?" The boss was stunned for a moment and then said with a smile, "Yes, you definitely can. You can't die anymore. The war has been going on for more than 200 years. Almost all of us are dead." Han Fei's heart trembled. For some reason, when he heard the boss's words, he felt his heart tremble as if it was a sigh from the bottom of his heart. Han Fei smiled and said, "Then I definitely won't die. I haven't found a girlfriend yet." "Boss, why do I find that there are fewer girls in our city?" The boss joked, "Do you want to find a girlfriend?" "However, it's hard to find a girlfriend now. Girls of your age who didn't die in the war are basically married. It's hard. Since the birth policy was encouraged 100 years ago, most girls are engaged at the age of 12, let alone girls of your age. You have to fight hard and make some achievements. When you can enter the garrison guard, I guarantee that you will be able to find a wife." Originally, Han Fei just looked at the people coming and going on the street, but there were not many girls, so he asked casually. Who knew that he would get such a reply? Hearing the boss's words, Han Fei felt that he had become a saint. Smack. Han Fei suddenly slapped his thigh. "It's over." The old man asked, "Young man, what's wrong with you? Are my shrimp dumplings not delicious?" Han Fei quickly said, "No, the shrimp dumplings are very good. I remember that I still have something to do." The old man smiled and said, "If you want to go, just go. Otherwise, when the big fish tide comes, who knows if there will be a tomorrow." Han Fei's face changed. According to the boss, girls were married off at the age of 12. Then Xia Shaochan was already 15 years old. Didn't she also become a saint? No, Xia Shaochan was beautiful. If she was in such a place, there would definitely be a lot of people chasing after her. Han Fei, who had just taken 2 steps, immediately ran back and asked the stall owner, "Boss, do you think there are still 15-year-old girls in our city who haven't married yet?" The old man smiled and said, "Of course there are. It's just that it's very rare." Han Fei asked, "Have you seen one? Which one is the most beautiful?" The old man shook his head with a smile. "How would I know? What, do you want to find a girl to do it before going to the battlefield? Then you might as well hold a sign and shout. Maybe the success rate will be higher." Han Fei nodded. That made sense. In this place, girls were so scarce and the big fish tide was coming. At this moment, everyone must be preparing for war and going crazy. It shouldn't be a problem to do anything, right? After bidding farewell to the stall owner, Han Fei turned around and summoned Little White. "Daughter, can you find Xia Shaochan?" However, this time Little White failed. Looking at the crowded streets, she was confused for a moment as if she had lost her sense of direction. Han Fei was speechless. Damn it, do I really have to hold a sign? The city is so big. How long will it take to hold a sign? After careful consideration, Han Fei decided that it was impossible to hold a sign. There were too many people and the city was big. How difficult it was to find a person in this vast sea of people. Han Fei asked, "Master Hexagon, do you think I will be shot down if I fly into the sky?" The hexagon starfish scratched Han Fei. Definitely. Han Fei squeezed in the crazy crowd for a long time and finally squeezed in front of a shop, which turned out to be a shop selling fish skins. When the female boss saw Han Fei, she couldn't help but smile. "Little brother, do you want to buy fish skins?" Han Fei pointed to the street. "Are you still in the mood to sell fish skins in this situation?" The female boss laughed like a flower. "Are you saying that life is not going to be easy? War is war, and selling things is selling things. Little brother, I see that you don't even have a battle suit on you. Shall I make one for you? The war is about to begin, and I will only charge you 200 mid-quality pearls." Han Fei quickly waved his hand. Forget it, forget it." Suddenly, Han Fei paused. "Boss, I want all the fish skins here." Chapter 410. In a certain corner of the city, there was a group of teenage boys, the youngest of whom was probably only 10 years old, and the oldest was at most 15 years old. They were chasing a little girl. "Girl, I've participated in 2 big fish tides. Will you marry me? I promise I won't die this time." "Girl, don't listen to him. I've killed more than 30 mess-swallowing worms. In terms of combat power, I'm the strongest. Xia Xiaochan, marry me. I really like you. Xiaochan, I'm the most handsome. In terms of appearance, they are all iron-head fish. Girl, as long as you stay with me today, I will never let you get hurt." Girl, Xia Xiaochan was going crazy. Since she came to this damn place, she had been pursued all the time. No matter where she went and who she met, those people insisted on marrying her as if they had never seen a woman before. She clearly did not know these people at all, but they still came over to flatter her and boasted about herself to the heavens. Even young boys as young as 8 years old and old men as old as 80 years old had proposed to him. Almost all the ages in between had come to propose to him. Xia Xiaochan turned around and said angrily, "Get out of here, all of you. I won't marry anyone. I'm still young." Someone responded, "Girl, you are not young. I have a cousin who gave birth to 3 children when she was your age." Xia Xiaochan turned around and kicked the boy away. "Is your cousin a pig? She had 3 children at the age of 15. Wouldn't she have 30 or 40 children when she was 50 years old?" The boy was not annoyed but chuckled and said, "Haha, I like girls like you. You're strong." One of the boys seemed to want to prove his strength and was about to carry Xia Xiaochan home. As a result, Xia Xiaochan stabbed him twice. 2 holes were poked in his stomach. Then, lying on the ground, he shouted, "Spirit gatherers, give me a healing technique." However, several spirit gatherers behind Xia Xiaochan showed a contemptuous look. "Scum, you think you can carry her just because you want to? Why don't you take a look at yourself first?" A spirit gatherer sneered. "You deserve it." Most people did not think much of it. It just so happened that one of them was disabled, and there was one less competitor. For these people, as long as they could marry Xia Xiaochan, it would be the happiest thing in their lives. Xia Xiaochan felt that she was really going crazy. Over the past few days, she had practically circled the entire city, but she still couldn't find the slightest possibility of leaving. Swoosh! With a flash, Xia Xiaochan appeared on a roof 100 meters away. Looking at the people chasing after her, she couldn't help but shout, "I don't know you. Go find someone else." While Xia Xiaochan was yelling at the group of people angrily, her eyes suddenly widened, and she was completely stunned. He could only see a few large words floating in the sky at least dozens of miles away from him. "Xia Xiaochan, I'm here." Xia Xiaochan was stunned. The teenagers chasing Xia Xiaochan were stunned. Many people in the city were stunned. At this moment, the most dumbfounded one was none other than the lady boss who sold fish skins to Han Fei. She watched Han Fei sew the words one piece of fish skin after another. Each of these words was at least 30 meters long. Han Fei was afraid that if he sewed them too small, people wouldn't be able to see them at all. In fact, ordinary people without cultivation might not be able to see them clearly. The lady boss even asked, "Did you buy my shop just to make these words?" Han Fei nodded. "Yes. If it weren't for the lack of fish skins in your shop, I could have made them bigger." The lady boss sighed. "You must like that girl very much, right?" Han Fei grinned. "Her. TSK. Forget it." Han Fei ran in the city for a long time with a huge fish skin kite fastened to a 9-star chain, and every time he would be surrounded by a lot of people. Many people marveled at Han Fei's creativity and commented on it here. A man said solemnly, "This is a good idea. Any young lady would not be able to resist such a confession." A woman pinched the man next to her. "Look at him. Look at yourself." Someone sighed. "It's a pity that this boy already has someone he likes. Otherwise, I would definitely marry my daughter to him." Someone sneered. "Are you kidding me? Your daughter is only 7 years old. Can she give birth to a child?" The bustling crowd and the tense atmosphere were immediately diluted by Han Fei's behavior. After running for about 2 hours, he saw a group of little girls coming. When a little girl who was only 11 or 12 years old saw Han Fei, her eyes lit up. "It's you, Han Fei." The girls suddenly ran up and hugged Han Fei. "I can marry you, Han Fei." Before Han Fei said anything, 2 more girls ran over, each holding one of Han Fei's arms. "I'm prettier. I'll marry him first." "I'm prettier than you. I'll marry him first." "Get out of the way. I have the best figure. He's mine. Get out of the way. I'm the first to arrive." Han Fei hurriedly pushed the girls out. "Girls, let me tell you, don't touch me. I won't marry you." However, in the next moment, a little girl shouted, "I don't need you to marry me. I just want to have children with you." "Pooh!" Han Fei was dumbfounded. "What the hell are you talking about? How old are you? You're only as tall as my chest and you want to have children with me? Are you serious?" However, the onlookers burst into laughter. "Kid, are you happy now? But there are so many little girls. You can't choose too many, or there won't be enough time." Someone laughed. "For the sake of today's battle, you can choose at most 3, no more." Howl! Han Fei suddenly let out a strange cry, dragged the balloon, and ran wildly. "Should I choose your sister? You're too young. I'll be beaten to death outside." Han Fei's tears were about to fall. What kind of era is this? Just because they have to fight, they have to keep making little girls. That's too much. People living in this era are simply fucking. However, Han Fei couldn't run fast at all because the balloon in the sky was still in his hand. Before he ran out 100 meters, he was caught up by a group of little girls behind him. Some held his waist, and some held his arms. Han Fei said angrily, "Let go, all of you, let go. I'm not interested in little kids." With a burst of spiritual energy, these little girls were shaken away. And he himself hung on the kite line and floated into the sky with the balloon. However, the good times didn't last long. Before Han Fei floated out 100 meters, he felt that his feet were entangled by vines. He looked down, only to see a tall little girl standing with her head raised, pointing at Han Fei and saying, "I think you can be my man." Han Fei said, "I don't think you can be my woman." The girl frowned. "Why? I am already half a step away from becoming a hanging fisher. After this battle, I will definitely make a breakthrough." Han Fei grimaced. I already have someone I like." The girl looked at the balloon in the sky and said, "Is that Xia Xiaochan better than me?" Before Han Fei spoke, he saw on the roof in the distance, a vigorous figure was jumping in the air. The flashing power swept over 100 meters in the blink of an eye, and then over 1,000 meters in the blink of an eye. Han Fei was overjoyed and said to the girl who was dragging him on the ground, "Look, the girl I've been waiting for is here." Girl, let go of me. However, the girl stepped on the vines, rose into the air, and glanced at Xia Shaochan. She is just an intermediate dangling fisher. Han Fei was speechless. I'm also an intermediate dangling fisher. If I'm an intermediate dangling fisher, I should be with an intermediate one. 100 meters away, Xia Shaochan flashed and disappeared, and in the next second, she suddenly appeared in front of Han Fei. Xia Shaochan was so excited that the moment she saw Han Fei, she immediately cried and laughed, and tears really fell down. Xia Shaochan hugged Han Fei, and her tears and snot fell down in an instant. Sob. I can't find my way back. I thought I was going to stay here for the rest of my life. Han Fei opened his hands, looked at the girl who was still looking at him, and said, Look, this is the person I've been waiting for. Han Fei hugged Xia Shaochan with both hands and naturally let go of the balloon. With a tap of his foot, he landed on a roof. Xia Shaochan was still crying and laughing, but Han Fei saw the teenagers who were running over following Xia Shaochan. Seeing this, those teenagers were furious. Beast, let go of that girl. A teenager was furious. Asshole, come at me if you can. It's really despicable to deceive little girls in this way. Someone directly drew his sword. I want to challenge you. What's your name? Today, I will make you regret it. For a moment, a group of teenagers all talked at once and looked at Han Fei furiously. Han Fei looked at those teenagers blankly and then at the girls who were staring at him. Suddenly, he made a move. Bo! Han Fei tilted his head and kissed Xia Shaochan on the cheek. Chapter 411. Han Fei felt that Xia Shaochan's body suddenly stiffened in his arms. Before he could speak, he felt that his lower abdomen was stabbed twice. Immediately afterward, Han Fei was kicked to the ground. Han Fei covered his belly. Cooperate, understand? Xia Shaochan blushed. Who let you kiss me? Han Fei touched his belly and looked at it. Seeing that it wasn't stabbed, he breathed a sigh of relief and said, Look behind you first. Xia Shaochan looked back, only to see that the ferocious boy's eyes were glinting. A boy said, It seems that they are not on good terms. Xia Shaochan, marry me. I promise to treat you well. The boys scrambled to be the first, which scared Xia Shaochan. She quickly stood behind Han Fei and pointed at them with a dagger. Don't come over. And the girl just now looked at Han Fei. It seems that she doesn't like you very much. Han Fei glared at these boys and girls. What the hell do you know? Beating and scolding is love. Beating and scolding is love. What do you know about iron-head fish? Behind the girl, there were other girls. At this moment, they said, We are also very good at fighting. Han Fei whispered to Xia Shaochan, Did you see that? They want to get married so badly. Xia Shaochan nodded quickly, feeling that these people's brains were a bit abnormal. If there were only one or two of them, it wouldn't be a big deal. But so many people who she had never seen before suddenly came to her and said that they wanted to marry her. Wasn't it terrifying? Han Fei said, I'll help you solve the boy's problem, and you help me solve the girl's problem. Xia Shaochan nodded quickly. Okay, good idea. Let's do that. Han Fei took a step forward, carrying the embroidery needle on his shoulder, and said aggressively, All the men, listen to me. Xia Shaochan is mine. You weaklings, get out of here. If you don't accept it, I will beat you until you do. Xia Shaochan followed suit. That's right. You girls, get out of here too. Han Fei is mine. Oh, interesting. It seems that there is still a show to watch before the battle. Not bad. Ha ha ha, I really envy these kids. To be able to make it so earth-shattering when it comes to finding a partner, it's just like how I was back then. Get lost. Demeanor my ass. Back then, you were a coward. Under the roof, the group of fish-eating people stopped preparing for the battle and watched the scene happily. There were even people carrying sea melon seeds over to sell. In an instant, they were all snapped up. While eating melon seeds, many people raised their heads and watched the fight between Han Fei and the others. On the roof, the teenagers on Han Fei's opposite side were furious, as if their little white fish had been snatched away. A boy pointed his sword at Han Fei. "I want to duel with you." Han Fei smiled faintly. "If you lose, you'll have to get out of here." The young man's face turned sinister. "I'll lose. You're just an intermediate dangling fisher. I advise you to leave." Han Fei didn't use any fancy moves and just smashed him with the rod. The sword-bearing young man sneered. There was a green glow on the sword, which was entangled by dragons and flashed with colorful light. He was fearless in the face of Han Fei's attack. "Gotcha!" Bam! However, before the smile on the young man's face faded, he was sent flying hundreds of meters away, his mouth and nose bleeding and his hands trembling. Han Fei carried the embroidery needle on his shoulder again. "I hate people like you the most. You don't have any skills at all." Hiss. Someone in the crowd was surprised. "Huh, this kid is very strong. He doesn't look like an intermediate dangling fisher." Someone nodded. Of course, the sword-bearing young man is an advanced dangling fisher. He can't even take a blow from him, which means that the strength of this young man is comparable to a peak-level dangling fisher. The teenagers on the opposite side of Han Fei suddenly looked solemn. "This person is stronger than I thought. It seems that I have to use my spiritual beast." On the other side, the eyes of the girls who took a fancy to Han Fei all lit up. Girls, especially in this era, all liked the strong. Xia Xiaochan's face was a little black. She pointed at those girls and said, "What are you looking at? Your opponent is me." A girl walked forward. "Let me." This girl was an armorist. As soon as the armor box was opened, dozens of long whips, like vines, rolled out. However, unlike vines, these weapons seemed to be made by special means, were extremely flexible, and were all mid-quality spiritual weapons. However, Xia Xiaochan didn't care at all. She directly turned into a shadow, and before the girl on the opposite side reacted, the spiritual energy protective cover on the girl's body was broken, and then she was stabbed twice. Xia Xiaochan generally wouldn't show mercy when it came to fighting. If it was a fight between boys, she might show mercy to girls, but she didn't have such a concept. The first thing he did was to stab his opponent's waist with 2 knives. Her fighting speed was even faster than Han Fei's. At least Han Fei had time to swing his rod, but Xia Xiaochan really ended the battle in the blink of an eye. Immediately, the combat strength of Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan caused countless people to exclaim. Someone said in surprise, "So strong, these 2 teenagers are very strong." Someone exclaimed, "This is the realm of an intermediate dangling fisher. What if they become peak-level dangling fishers?" Han Fei grinned. Xia Xiaochan was still the same Xia Xiaochan. The gentle Xia Xiaochan didn't exist. The violent Xia Xiaochan was more comfortable to look at. Han Fei said lazily, "Who's next? Or do you all come together? I'm fine with either of you." Realizing Han Fei's strength, a peak-level dangling fisher walked out of the group of teenagers. He was a hunter. He had fused with his spiritual beast, and his 2 arms were like 2 scimitars at the moment. Han Fei smiled. "Come on, let me see if you are qualified to be a peak-level dangling fisher." In the next second, this person disappeared. In Han Fei's spiritual perception, there were 2 rotating scimitars cutting at him from the left and right respectively. Han Fei swept out, sparks splashed in the air, and the vibrating force set off a layer of air ripples within 100 meters. Then, Han Fei suddenly tilted his head, and at the same time, the water-dividing seal was already in his hand. In an instant, the water-dividing seal shone brightly. Clang, 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 in the air, the boy blocked it with his arms and was sent flying backward, blood oozing from the corner of his mouth. However, the boy didn't admit defeat. He kicked the 2 daggers at Han Fei with his feet as knives. In the next moment, someone exclaimed, "Fuck, he's using his body to block spiritual weapons." Han Fei suddenly stretched out his hands, grabbed the 2 spiritual daggers, and threw them directly at the boy in the air. Puff! Puff! However, to Han Fei's disappointment, the spiritual weapons belonged to the boy. His spiritual weapons could be easily stored in his body. Therefore, this blow didn't hurt the boy. But Han Fei's blue sea wandering dragon rod had already been hooked out. In the eyes of everyone, Han Fei was extremely fast, holding a small seal and slapping it hard at the boy who was caught. Under everyone's horrified gaze, Han Fei grabbed the boy's neck with one hand. "Weak, you are too weak. Come at me together." While Han Fei shouted, he took the lead, carrying the embroidery needle and rushing into the crowd. "Kill him. Together." Arrogant, this guy must have hidden his strength to prevent Xia Shaochan from marrying him. "Don't be a coward. Let's fight." Han Fei's side fell into a melee. At this moment, Xia Shaochan had just drilled through the vine defense of the peak-level dangling fisher manipulator and had already begun to fight. In the eyes of outsiders, the battle scene of this group of teenagers was extremely fierce. About the time it takes to burn half an incense stick. On Xia Shaochan's side, all the girls who chased Han Fei, including the peak-level dangling fisher, were lying on the ground, covering their stomachs. On Han Fei's side, all the teenagers had bruised noses and swollen faces, supporting each other. Han Fei gave Xia Shaochan a look. "Huh, your strength has improved so fast." Xia Shaochan glanced at Han Fei's belly. "Your physique seems to have become much stronger." After the fierce battle, the girls groaned and left, and some of them looked at Han Fei reluctantly. On the boys' side, although they were all defeated, they were unwilling to give up. They really thought Xia Shaochan was too beautiful. Han Fei said angrily, "What are you looking at? Get out of here. Do you want to be beaten?" Immediately, a boy cursed, "I bet you won't live past tonight. At that time, Xia Shaochan will still be ours." Han Fei directly raised the embroidery needle, scaring these teenagers and making them retreat with a swish. "Huh." Seeing that no one was bothering her, Xia Shaochan was overjoyed. She pulled Han Fei and said, "Come on, let's get out of here." After a while, on a remote roof, Xia Shaochan blushed. "I am still young. I can't have children." Han Fei. At the same time. Chapter 412. Looking at Xia Shaochan's serious expression, Han Fei was stunned. "No, wait a minute. Where did you get the baby?" Xia Shaochan glared at Han Fei angrily. "It's all your fault." Han Fei. Han Fei was dumbfounded. "No, wait a minute. Let me think. Wait a minute. I just met you. Why are you blaming me?" Xia Shaochan had already raised her dagger. "Who asked you to kiss me?" Han Fei was shocked. "Ah. That was just an impulse." Yes. "You asked me to have a baby out of impulse. Why?" Han Fei was confused. "Wait a minute. What does kissing you have to do with whether you have a baby or not?" Xia Shaochan glared at Han Fei angrily. "I'm your biological son. If you kiss me, you will have a baby." Pooh! Han Fei was so scared that he sat on the roof. "Are you trying to scare me to death? Damn it. Your IQ, no, you have no IQ at all." Xia Shaochan picked up the dagger and poked it, saying angrily, "What's with your face? You don't want to be responsible, do you?" Han Fei pulled the dagger from his waist and said, "Is there something wrong with your understanding? Biological, that is, no, where did you hear this term?" Han Fei was speechless. She was a smart girl. Why did she suddenly lose her IQ? Xia Shaochan snorted. Isn't it because of this damn place? As soon as I showed up, a bastard followed me, saying that he was the city lord's biological son. He emphasized it many times. And he wanted to kiss me. Of course, I couldn't let him succeed, so I stabbed him. Han Fei was immediately furious. Bastard, don't worry. When I meet him later, I will beat him up again for you. Then Han Fei asked, is it the first time in your life that you have heard the word biological son? Xia Shaochan stared at Han Fei. Yes. My teacher won't teach me how to have a baby. Han Fei. In the end, Han Fei spent a long time teaching Xia Shaochan the common words and basic common sense of human beings. In the end, Xia Shaochan was stunned for a while and asked, so, I won't have children? Han Fei said gloomily, of course, do you think it's so easy to have a baby? How old are you, and you're already thinking of having children? Xia Shaochan muttered, then they said that I'm a big girl and no one will want me if I don't get married. Han Fei rolled his eyes at her. Are you stupid? In the past 200 years, there had been nearly 200 wars in this city. The older people have all died long ago. If they don't work hard to give birth to children, wouldn't their clan be exterminated? Xia Shaochan nodded. I see. So, I really won't have children. Han Fei didn't bother to talk to her. Luckily, he was here. Otherwise, within 3 to 5 days, she would be carried home to be the wife of a bandit. Suddenly, Xia Shaochan leaned to Han Fei and said, then kiss me again. Pft, cough, cough, cough. Han Fei was dumbfounded. He had never heard such an unreasonable request in his life. Han Fei stammered, no. No, I. What did you say? Xia Shaochan looked at Han Fei seriously and said, kiss me again. That feeling is very strange. Han Fei swallowed in a daze. Xia Shaochan was already a big girl, but now she was already slim and graceful. No matter how calm Han Fei was, he couldn't stay calm when he heard such an unreasonable request. Han Fei said, then close your eyes. If you want to kiss me, just kiss me. Why do you want me to close my eyes? Han Fei waved his hand and said, well. I just want you to feel it, okay? Xia Shaochan tilted her head and said, then hurry up. Seeing Xia Shaochan close her eyes, Han Fei immediately swallowed. No one knew that the story would develop like this. It turns out that I like to be passive. Han Fei cleared his throat and said, I'm going to kiss you. Okay. Hurry up. Han Fei licked his lips, took a deep breath, and kissed Xia Shaochan's mouth. Of course, kissing on the cheek was not the same as kissing on the mouth. Bam! Before Han Fei could feel it, he felt that he was sent flying into the sky like a kite with a broken string. Xia Shaochan's kick almost made him throw up his dinner from last night. Pooh! You asked me to kiss you. In the sky, Han Fei saw Xia Shaochan holding her 2 little fists in front of her chest, her face flushed, and even her neck red. She was frozen there, and her eyes were still closed. Han Fei didn't dare to speak or disturb her. After he stabilized his body and fell from the sky, he rubbed his belly and leaned towards Xia Shaochan. After a long time, Han Fei saw Xia Shaochan open her eyes, trembling. Han Fei asked carefully in a soft voice, well, what did you feel? Xia Shaochan looked at Han Fei weirdly. It's weird. Do other people kiss me like this too? Han Fei was shocked and scolded angrily, shut up. Let me tell you, once you have kissed one person, you can't do it with a second person. Xia Shaochan asked curiously, why? Han Fei raised his head and said, because you can't. Xia Shaochan asked, not even Kuang Kuang and Zhang Xuanyu? Han Fei's face turned cold. Of course not. You can only kiss one man in your life. Xia Shaochan asked, only men? What about Xiao Bai? Xiao Bai is a woman. Han Fei couldn't help but imagine Xia Shaochan and Luo Xiaobai kissing each other. He couldn't help but shiver and then have goosebumps. No, no, not with Luo Xiaobai, not with anyone. Xia Shaochan said regretfully, why? Han Fei was speechless. Why? In any case, you have to remember this. Never, ever, ever do something like this with a second person. Not only kissing, but also holding hands, let alone sleeping together. Xia Shaochan snorted. You just said that sleeping will give birth to a child. Han Fei covered his head with one hand. Oh, yes, sleeping with a man will give birth to a child. So, from now on, you can only sleep with me. Bah! I won't sleep with you. Don't expect me to give birth to a child. Han Fei nodded. That's up to you. Anyway, I don't care. Xia Shaochan licked her lips, blinked her eyes, and said, give me another kiss. Let's see. Han Fei blinked his eyes. Then don't kick me this time. Don't move. I won't move. After a moment. Han Fei, who was in midair, didn't know how to believe her. It was just a kiss and a kick. It seemed to be a good deal. Han Fei didn't know how many times he had flown to the sky. Anyway, at this moment, the two of them were sitting on a very high building, looking at the city. Xia Shaochan said solemnly, I have been here for 7 days. I have been to the entire inner city and the outer city. Without the teleportation array, I was going to go to sea. However, there are people guarding the outer city, saying that there will be a war recently, so I am not allowed to go to sea. Han Fei asked in surprise, so you haven't gone out until now? Xia Shaochan shook her head. No. Han Fei took a deep breath and said, I suspect that we are not in our time at all. Xia Shaochan was confused. Huh? Han Fei said, we came to the time before the undersea city was destroyed. We must have passed through a certain timeline. If we want to go back, we must have experienced something special. Xia Shaochan seemed to have the same suspicion. So, we are not in the level 3 fishery. Han Fei shook his head. The level 3 fishery is still the level 3 fishery. But this level 3 fishery may not be the level 3 fishery we know. Han Fei couldn't help but lick his lips. I wonder if the seaborne grassland still exists at this time. If the seaborne grassland still exists, is the big red trunk still there? Can I go and chop the big red trunk again? Although it sounds weird, what if it's possible? Beep, 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 suddenly, a loud conch horn sounded. Then, in many corners of the city, conch horns began to ring. To Han Fei's surprise, a hidden fisher passed by in the sky and shouted, all dangling fishers within 100 kilometers, gather at the south gate. A big fish tide is coming, beep, beep, beep. For a time, the whole city was in motion. The streets were crowded with people, and many people jumped directly from the roofs. Xia Shaochan quickly got up and said, let's go and have a look. Maybe this is our chance to go back. Han Fei grabbed her and said, wait a minute. Don't worry. After all, this is not our war. We'll go there last. It's better to see it from the perspective of a bystander. Do you want to rush to the forefront? Han Fei was more far-sighted. He and Xia Shaochan happened to come here. The 187th big fish tide was likely to be the battle to destroy the city. In a war where everyone was dead, of course, he would retreat if he could. Han Fei looked at Xia Shaochan and said, give me your hand. Xia Shaochan. Han Fei said, open your 5 fingers like me. While Xia Shaochan was puzzled, Han Fei put his hand on hers and nodded solemnly. Well, yes, follow me now. Don't run around. Xia Shaochan frowned. It's awkward. I'd better hold a dagger. Han Fei said, be a good girl. Cell phone website. Chapter 413. While everyone was running to the south gate of the city solemnly, only Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were strolling on the roofs, hand in hand. Especially Xia Shaochan, she always felt uncomfortable. One of her hands was held by Han Fei, and the other hand was still holding her dagger. She thought to herself, why am I being held by him? However, Xia Shaochan also found a particularly interesting thing. Holding hands, they could swing their arms. Swaying back and forth, it seemed quite interesting. The people on the street were decreasing rapidly. At this moment, a figure flew over Han Fei and Xia Shaochan's heads. Swish! A figure fell from the sky. It was a beautiful woman about 30 years old. Dressed in a red robe, she seemed to have a very high status. The beautiful woman glanced at Han Fei and Xia Shaochan, then at their holding hands, and said leisurely, just now, did you put those words in the sky? Seeing that the hidden fissure was coming, Han Fei chuckled and said, yes, yes, yes. The beautiful woman glanced at Xia Shaochan. What a beauty! Try to survive. With that, the beautiful woman spread her wings and flew away. In the end, she said, only by surviving can you better fall in love. Xia Shaochan sighed. Didn't she notice the difference between us? Han Fei nodded. Of course, we are living people now, not fake. Of course, no one will find anything wrong with us. Half an hour later, Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were still walking leisurely on the deserted street. The people on both sides of the road were standing in front of their houses. None of them had reached the realm of dangling fissures, so they couldn't go to the outer city to participate in the battle. Although there were few people walking on the street at this moment, these people didn't urge Xia Shaochan and Xia Shaochan. There were even quite a few people who were smiling at them and talking to them. Hey! You two children, come back alive. Don't die outside. Boy, don't be reckless in the outer city. If you can't beat them, don't go. Even if the sky falls, there will be someone taller. Girl, don't be separated from him. If you are separated in the outer city, it will not be easy to find you. The blessings and exhortations made Han Fei feel strange, but at the same time, he felt warm in his heart. This city was better than he had imagined. The people in the city didn't have much infighting. Perhaps they didn't even have the time or opportunity to fight amongst themselves. When Han Fei saw the city gate, the garrison guards immediately shouted at them, "Stop wasting time. If you survive, you'll have plenty of time to spend with each other in the future. Get out of the city now." Although it was a shout, there was no sense of urgency in his voice. The garrison guards seemed to be able to understand. Perhaps this was a parting of life and death. It would be good to let him take a few more steps. When Han Fei and Xia Shaochan arrived at the outer city, the garrison guards immediately said to them, "Come on, you two intermediate dangling fishers will be in the last batch, in the inner circle." As he spoke, the soldier smiled at the two of them and said, "Don't panic. We've fought this kind of war 186 times. He had survived in the past, and he would survive this time as well. Stand over there, near the inner city wall." Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were a little dumbfounded at this moment. They had never seen such a scene before. They allowed others to make arrangements for them. As far as their eyes could see, there was a sea of people, and they couldn't see the end. Han Fei and Xia Shaochan stood close to the inner city wall. Even if they were going to fight, they would probably be the last batch to go out to fight, which was their special care. There were many similar situations with Han Fei and Xia Shaochan, most of whom were young couples or junior dangling fishers. Even the front row of Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were arranged in this way. In the sky, there were 8 hidden fishers, all with wings on their backs. Some were carrying armor boxes, some were carrying daggers, some were holding swords, and some were holding guns. The beautiful woman in a red robe that Han Fei saw just now was one of them. And at the very front of these people, there was another person in the farthest sky. That person's figure looked extremely abrupt because there was no one around him. It was very likely that he was stronger than a hidden fisher. Han Fei looked over, secretly took a breath, and said to Xia Shaochan, I don't think this battle will be easy. Don't dodge. Xia Shaochan said impatiently, I know, it's so annoying. In front of Han Fei, there was also a couple who looked back with a smile. Hey, it's okay. We experienced it once last year. At that time, we just went out of the city to show our faces and then came back. The girl was looking at Xia Shaochan. Sister, you are so beautiful. Yes, the girl looked younger than Xia Shaochan, and Han Fei estimated that she was at most 13 years old. Xia Shaochan looked embarrassed. You are also quite good-looking. The little girl said, My name is Yinin, Sun Yinin. Xia Shaochan glanced at Han Fei. Hello, my name is Xia Shaochan. And the boy secretly gave Han Fei a thumbs up, as if saying, it's really cool to have such a beautiful wife. Han Fei tilted his head slightly, secretly showed off to the boy, and then asked, Dude, what does the big fish tide look like? We haven't seen it before. The boy shrugged. We haven't seen it either. It should only be seen at the front line, right? It is said that blood can cover our heavenly desolate city. I don't know. Is it true? However, when I went out last time, the smell of blood was really strong, and many people didn't come back. Han Fei's face turned serious. This description is a bit exaggerated. Could fresh blood envelop the entire city? How many people will die? Not far away, a boy snorted and said, When you see it, it will be too late. My 4 brothers were all sacrificed at the forefront. I didn't find a girlfriend this year because I didn't want to have a child and let him continue to die. Everyone was silent, a little embarrassed. Han Fei and Xia Shaochan looked at each other and couldn't help sighing. Their life experience was a bit tragic. Everyone was waiting, but no one felt impatient. If possible, Han Fei believed that everyone here hoped that the big fish tide would go back. Then, they could return to the inner city with peace of mind and do what they usually like to do. After waiting for about an hour, suddenly, Han Fei heard a beep sound and the conch horns began to be blown one after another, one louder and one longer than the last. On the distant city wall, the fish skin drum was rumbling. The lonely figure at the front suddenly shouted, Attention, the first team to the 10th team, prepare to leave the city. Kill! 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 In the chilling sound waves, 2 hidden fishers suddenly flew forward, seeming to be going out of the city with everyone. However, when these 2 hidden fishers left, Han Fei saw another 2 hidden fishers flying over from nowhere and filling in the positions just now. Xia Shaochan squeezed Han Fei's hand so nervously that she almost broke his hand. Han Fei said, Don't panic. It's still early for us. Because the distance from the inner city wall to the outer city wall was not close. Besides, there were many buildings along the way, so Han Fei didn't know what was going on ahead. But the hexagon starfish suddenly said to him via voice transmission, I feel a dangerous aura. Han Fei responded, Bullshit, the whole city has come out to fight. How can it not be dangerous? Bam, 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 hiss, hoo. After the first few teams left the city, such sounds never stopped. The battle was very fierce. The sound of fighting could cross the outer city wall and reach inside. During this period, in the sky, another hidden fisher-level master left the team and flew out of the city. It could be seen that the battle outside was definitely not easy. Otherwise, there wouldn't be another hidden fisher-level master. Han Fei and the others had seen Xiao Zhan fight at that time. Not to mention anything else, Xiao Zhan alone was worth thousands of troops in Han Fei's eyes. However, 3 masters of this level left at once. The fish skin drum never stopped beating, and the war conch horns often sounded. After about an hour of fighting, a voice came from the sky again. The first 20 teams leave the city, 50,000 people to fill in. Han Fei heard the garrison guards not far away say in surprise, 50,000 people to fill in so quickly. This year's war is very fierce. Han Fei vaguely guessed that the number of the 20 teams just now was probably about 50,000 people. Then the first 10 teams that left the city had at least more than 20,000 people. 20,000 people, and after fighting for an hour, another 50,000 people left? Han Fei couldn't help but be a little shocked. What kind of war is this? This time, he directly followed the 3 hidden fissures. Then only 2 hidden fissures came to fill in, so there were only 6 hidden fissures left in the sky. Xia Xiaochan said, the battle outside should be very difficult. Han Fei nodded. Let's wait and see. We are different. Han Fei wasn't sure. If he died here, wouldn't he also become a ghost? The sky had already darkened, but everyone was nervously staring at the front. Although they couldn't see anything in front, there were still people chatting and talking before, but now there were no more. 2 hours later. With a loud bang, it resounded throughout the entire outer city. However, not even 3 breaths of time after this explosion, there was another loud rumble. The first 30 teams leave the city, hurry up. In the sky, another 3 hidden fissures left. And this time, only 1 person filled in, so there were only 4 hidden fissures left in the sky. Han Fei's expression became more and more solemn. Another 70,000 or 80,000 people went out. Chapter 4:14. Outside the city, the battle cries shook the sky, and all kinds of lights were shining in the sky, which was very conspicuous in the dark night. It wasn't until late at night that the noise outside died down a little. And at the forefront of the city wall, there was already a commotion. Han Fei and the others saw 2 hidden fissures flying back, one of whom was the beautiful woman in a red robe. At this moment, she was in a terrible state. There seemed to be a big hole in her chest, and one of her wings was missing. She barely flew in the air with the help of another hidden fissure. In front, the crowd was shouting, "Get out of the way, get out of the way, make a passage." Behind, all the teenagers made way to the sides, all nervous. Because Han Fei and the others were closest to the south gate of the inner city, after a while, he saw many people being carried, limped, or carried into the inner city. Among the wounded, some lost their arms, some lost their legs, and some were covered with wounds cut by sharp blades, bleeding. Anyway, as far as Han Fei could see, no one was intact. They were all stained with blood. The color of the blood was also quite strange. There were green, blue, yellow, and red blood, puff. Han Fei watched with his heart in his mouth. Suddenly, he saw a wounded person being carried suddenly vomit a few mouthfuls of blood, and there were even worms in the blood. He also saw that someone had been deeply poisoned. His skin and face had completely turned blue, and the blood flowing out of his mouth was no longer red but blue-black. Spirit gatherers, urgently summon spirit gatherers to the inner city for rescue. Xia Xiaochan seemed to be frightened by this mockery. Although she was very violent and good at fighting, she had never seen such a scene before. Every minute, dozens or even hundreds of people were sent into the inner city. It was a horrible scene. Almost immediately, many people shouted, "I'm a spirit gatherer, I am." "Me too, I'm coming." "I'm a spirit gatherer and a hunter." "I can do it too." Xia Xiaochan looked at Han Fei. She knew how excellent Han Fei was as a spirit gatherer. As for Bai Ho, Xia Xiaochan hadn't seen anyone more talented than Han Fei. However, Han Fei looked at her palely and slightly shook his head. Han Fei said telepathically, "There's no way to save her, and I can't. If this battle was a battle to destroy the city, I might be able to temporarily save 10 or 100 people, but it would be of no help to the battle." Xia Xiaochan frowned. So we just watch them die." Han Fei took a deep breath. "I know this is a cruel choice, but I have to conserve my power. This is their world, their city. And our world is not here." Han Fei clenched his fists. He really wanted to rush over to save them. However, his rationality told him that this would not work. A spirit gatherer was too powerless in a war of this level. If Han Fei chose to save people, this city would not be destroyed, and he would not hesitate. But both he and Xia Xiaochan knew that the undersea city had been destroyed countless years ago, and there were only undead spirits and hero souls left. Han Fei said resolutely, "I'm afraid this battle won't be easy. We'll have to go out eventually. Remember, don't flash around randomly when you get out." Xia Xiaochan nodded with her pale little face. This rescue operation lasted about half an hour, and the bugle sounded again. Immediately, the voice of the man in front echoed in the sky. "The first 50 teams, go out of the city. All dangling fishers, go out of the city." Han Fei gasped. "The first 50 teams? More than 100,000 people go out of the city. What the hell was going on out there?" Han Fei looked at the 4 hidden fissures in the sky and had an ominous hunch in his heart. Is the man in front preserving his strength and letting the hanging fissures go out of the city? This is... They're going to die. The night passed quietly. Han Fei was already numb. The number of teams in the city had been pulled out by about 60%. When the morning light shone, another rescue operation happened. This time, it was even more unbearable than the last time. When these people were pulled back, they had already lost their human forms. If not for their strong physique, they would be no different from a dead person. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. The short repair lasted until the sun completely rose above the horizon, and then until the sun was halfway down the horizon. Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan seemed to have become the last batch of humans who could go out of the city unknowingly. At this moment, they were no longer close to the inner city wall. Less than a kilometer away, it was the outer city wall. Han Fei counted carefully, only to find that there were less than 100 teams in total. Even though the horizontal length of each team was very long, at this moment, it began to shrink from horizontal to vertical. All go! The strong man at the top of the city wall, after speaking, took a step out. This was the first time he had left that place since last night. This man, from beginning to end, didn't say a word of nonsense, nor did he say any encouraging words. At this moment, even the commander had gone out of the city. It could be seen to what extent the war had reached. Han Fei looked at everyone here, whose faces were full of determination, including the young couples around them. At this last moment, they were telling each other their hearts, encouraging each other, and making some promises that even they didn't quite believe. Han Fei grabbed Xia Xiaochan's hand and said, "When we go out, you must not have an attack. If you have such a sign, tell me as soon as possible." Xia Xiaochan suddenly said, "If we die here, can we go back?" Han Fei shook his head. "No matter what, we can't die. We can't gamble with death. As long as we can come here alive, we can go out alive. So, no matter when, we have to be strong." Han Fei took Xia Xiaochan's hand and began to rush out with the main force. The people on the side all shouted in unison, "Kill! Kill! Kill!" He didn't know whether they were encouraging him or not. Or did they mean something else? Anyway, when Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan left the outer city with the crowd, almost in an instant, a strong smell of blood and fish came to their faces, which was simply disgusting. And Han Fei finally saw what it looked like outside the city. Above the sky, hidden fissures were fighting. Because the battle of strong people at their level affected too much. It was impossible for them to fight in close combat. They could only fight high in the sky, far away from the city. However, Han Fei still saw dozens of huge tentacles in the sky, which seemed to grow out of the clouds. The human battle collided with each other, bursting out ripples, and even the clouds were shaken away. And in front of him, everyone was rushing forward. Within 3,000 meters, it was not a battlefield. It seemed that human beings had been suppressing the battlefield beyond 3,000 meters. However, Han Fei could see 2-story-high lobsters, giant crabs rushing left and right, giant octopuses waving their giant whips from time to time, mantis shrimp, red-haired big-mouthed crab, mess-swallowing worms, spherical creatures, water-shaped creatures, and many other creatures that he couldn't name crowded on the distant battlefront. The glow bursting out of combat skills almost covered the entire battlefield. The phantoms of various spiritual beasts and contractual spiritual beasts appeared from time to time, fighting. Someone shouted, "Block! Everyone, press forward! We must defend the outer city!" Someone roared, "Choose your target. If you can't beat them, change to another one. Leave the strong to the strong." Approaching the battlefield, Han Fei heard someone crying and someone howling. Han Fei saw a person lose his direction and run to his side. He looked like he was in pain, and there were golden nematodes crawling out of his body. Just as Han Fei was about to help him get out of the sea of suffering, he saw a layer of flames immediately burst out of this person's body, and then a dagger swept past, killing him quickly. Xia Shaochan took action, faster than Han Fei. Han Fei turned his head, only to see Xia Shaochan looking serious. "No matter what, we're already here. Let's fight this battle well. We'll talk about it when we can't beat them." Han Fei took a deep look at her and then nodded. Suddenly, Han Fei felt that his feet were soft. When he took a look, he found that there was sand under his feet, and the coldness had spread here. Ha! A beach? Han Fei knew that this city had fallen. However, was there a beach outside the city? Didn't it mean that this city would be submerged at any time? Just as he was thinking, 100 teams of people had rushed into the battlefield. This collision was like a meteorite colliding with a meteor. Han Fei saw countless rocks tumbling in the water, piranhas leaping out from the sand, blades as bright as the moon swooping at the crowd, giant crabs charging at them. These were not the point. The point was... Han Fei saw the inferior man-fish. First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter, The God of Fishing, latest chapter 414. Chapter 414, Heavenly Desolate City, Big Fish Tide, below. Chapter 415. Han Fei frowned. "Be careful, those are man-fish, good at soul attacks." Xia Shaochan was surprised. Man-fish? Holding the embroidery needle, Han Fei smashed a mess-swallowing worm with his rod and said without looking back, "Yes, they are very strong, equivalent to a hanging fisher." As he spoke, many insects in the shape of lines had already surged out from under Han Fei's feet. Han Fei's eyelids flickered, and the embroidery needle was replaced by the water-dividing seal. He slapped the seal and spiritual energy burst out, shaking all the insects within dozens of meters into powder. Looking back, Xia Shaochan had turned into a shadow and landed on a big octopus, and hundreds of shadow blades cut the big octopus crazily. Seeing this, dozens of blue sea wandering dragon daggers burst out of Han Fei's body and swished over. In the blink of an eye, under the attacks of the two, the big octopus was cut into many pieces. Before they could react, the shadow of a crab's big pincer had already clamped over. Not only the crab, but at least 5 mess-swallowing worms suddenly rushed over. In the distance, the nematodes also besieged them again. Not far away, someone wailed, "Yi." Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were both stunned. Turning their heads, they found that the girl named Sun Yi, who had been in front of them, had her abdomen pierced by a scorpion tail, and light blue venom had spread on her body surface. And the boy, with the weapons in his armor box, slashed the sea scorpion into 2 pieces with a big sickle blade behind him. Bam! With Xia Shaochan as the center, thousands of shadowless knives flashed in the air, and several mess-swallowing worms were cut into dozens of pieces in an instant. Han Fei said, "Don't get excited." Xia Shaochan appeared beside Sun Yi with an ugly face and pulled out the scorpion tail. After Han Fei killed the surrounding sea creatures, he rushed over and immediately cast the divine healing technique on Sun Yi. However, he found that not only the girl's lower abdomen was pierced, but her heart was also pierced. The boy's tears continued to flow. Xia Shaochan frowned, holding the daggers with both hands and squeezing them a little hard. Han Fei gritted his teeth and stomped on the ground. In a circle of spiritual energy, all the blue sea wandering dragon daggers in his body flew out. With him as the center, it spun crazily 10 meters away. The saber light turned into a circle of flowing cold light, and all living beings in the area were crushed. Han Fei looked around, only to see sea beasts everywhere. There were mess-swallowing worms, sea scorpions, crabs, and other creatures everywhere in the water. Compared to marine creatures, humans were much smaller. However, it was also because of its agility that it could jump around in the water. Every time it attacked, it was a dangerous challenge. Han Fei's sudden outburst shocked many people around him. A spirit gatherer took the initiative to channel spiritual energy into Han Fei's body and shouted, "Brother, take it easy. Don't overexert yourself at the beginning." Someone shouted, "Good kill." After Han Fei's outburst, a shrill howl sounded, and the creatures around Han Fei all retreated. At the same time, a black shadow swam towards them. Han Fei roared, "Xia Shaochan, don't just stand there." Swish! Xia Shaochan flashed and appeared dozens of meters away. Her 2 daggers were burning with flames, setting off 2 flaming knife lights in the water. The shadow in the water leaped up and stabbed a harpoon out of the water. The waves on the harpoon rolled and blocked Xia Shaochan's attack head-on. A string of data appeared in Han Fei's eyes. Name: Inferior Man-Fish, Low-Level Sea Demon. Introduction: a sea demon with immature intelligence, cruel and bloodthirsty. Because of its poor breed, it is impossible to judge what kind of creature it evolved from. Level 42 Spiritual Energy Demon Heritage Level 3 Mid-Quality Realm Awakened a Companion Spirit. A blue-tailed poisonous scorpion. Unabsorbable. Han Fei's face changed slightly and he immediately said, "Let's work together." Xia Shaochan turned into a shadow again, and Han Fei followed closely behind, pushing the embroidery needle with his palm and hitting the harpoon. Boom! This impact directly shook the seawater within a radius of nearly 100 meters. Han Fei was shaken back dozens of meters by the harpoon and slid on the sand for dozens of meters, feeling quite comfortable. What great strength! The inferior man-fish seemed to be stunned by Han Fei and rolled dozens of times at the bottom of the water after being poked by Han Fei's rod. It didn't expect that this dangling fisher-level human could take a blow from it head-on. Han Fei shook his hand, stomped on a puddle, and charged at the enemy again. This time, the embroidery needle flickered with spiritual energy, and 9 tails appeared behind Han Fei in an instant. And before the inferior man-fish attacked again, a big blue scorpion suddenly appeared out of thin air, and its stinger stabbed at a shadow. That shadow was naturally Xia Shaochan. After the attack, Xia Shaochan flashed and instantly flashed behind the inferior man-fish, stabbing the inferior man-fish's shoulders with the supreme stinger. Chilla! The inferior man-fish staggered, and its back was cut by 2 huge knife wounds that were deep to the bone. Blue blood flowed out of its body, which was sticky. When the scorpion tail came again, Xia Shaochan's body followed it like a shadow, circling around the scorpion tail and appearing on its head. Then, 2 more stabs directly went into the scorpion shell. Xia Shaochan's attack created a favorable opportunity for Han Fei. Because the inferior man-fish leaned back in an instant, Han Fei changed his movement technique in the air and pressed his rod against the inferior man-fish's chest. Puff! A large amount of blue blood spurted out of the inferior man-fish's mouth. Its chest was directly sunken, and the bones of its back were exposed by Han Fei's blow. Before Han Fei attacked again, a cold light pierced directly into the back of the inferior man-fish's neck. As the cold light flashed, an ugly fish head fell into the water. Hiss! With the death of the inferior man-fish, the big blue scorpion also began to stagger as if it had a plague. Within 5 minutes, it lay prone in the sea and stopped moving. Good! Good kill! Fierce! Fierce enough! Amazing, these 2 are really fierce. While the surrounding people were cheering, a figure quickly rushed over. Han Fei and Xia Shaochan immediately knew that this was a hanging fisher, who was so strong that the 2 of them felt as if they were facing a formidable enemy. However, the man took a deep look at Han Fei and Xia Shaochan. 2 intermediate dangling fissures can actually kill low-level sea demons. Okay, you help each other in this sea area and don't come to the central battlefield. With that, the man immediately left the battlefield. Originally, he saw an inferior man-fish here and was about to come to rescue it. Moreover, his speed could be said to be extremely fast. But as soon as he rushed here, he saw that the inferior man-fish's head had been cut off. If it were any other time, he would definitely ask Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan about it, and then bring them into the inner city and focus on training them. But now it was a critical moment of the battle and he couldn't be distracted at all. He could only think that if these two were still alive after this battle, he would take them back and focus on training them. After killing an inferior man-fish, Han Fei grinned and immediately sent a stream of spiritual energy to Xia Xiaochan. It seems that we can now kill hanging fishers. Xia Xiaochan tilted her head. This big scorpion seems to be its contractual spiritual beast. Han Fei didn't comment. What exactly is an associated spirit? He didn't know. However, it should be awakened, just like the spiritual beasts of human beings. At this moment, he couldn't help but wonder what Yang Ruoyan's associated spirit was at that time. He didn't see it at that time. Before they cheered for killing an inferior man-fish, a roar suddenly came from the sky. Big Blade Dragon Slayer. Under the shocked gazes of many people, in the distant sky, a middle-aged man was surrounded by 3 creatures. A ball-shaped creature, an octopus monster, and a big crab. The knife in the middle-aged man's hand broke inch by inch. In the next second, a shocking knife light cut through the void, and the 3 creatures, who were at least hidden fishers, were killed by this knife, and their bodies fell from the sky. But the man was not dead yet. His whole body was burning, and his arms had turned into nothingness in the knife. But the man still stood proudly and shouted again, "Unity of man and knife." Han Fei saw that the man, like a meteorite falling from the sky, smashed directly into the distant deep sea. Rumble, a wave hundreds of meters high was set off, and a strong ripple spread in the sea. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. A hidden fisher-level powerhouse died just like that. Before he died, he turned into a knife and plunged straight into the sea, trying to take away one more marine creature at the cost of his life. Han Fei felt that the hexagon starfish was clinging tightly to his clothes and shoulders. He was probably scared. The battle continued, and Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan had been fighting for nearly 2 hours. Even with Xia Xiaochan's amazing combat power, her strength was also drying up at this moment. This was not the exhaustion of spiritual energy, but her strength. After all, Xia Xiaochan was a dangling fisher, and the efficient killing of enemies in 2 hours was far from being replenished with spiritual energy. Han Fei immediately threw a spiritual fruit at her. "Eat it. Take a break." Xia Xiaochan flashed, holding the spiritual fruit in her mouth, and in the next second, she had already landed next to a girl and helped her kill a circle of piranhas. Han Fei's clothes were torn. Looking around, the rhythm of the battlefield seemed to have never changed. What they looked like when they came out was still the same, the difference was that the seawater under their feet had really been dyed red. Along the coast, as far as the eye could see, corpses were everywhere, piling up like mountains. "Rumble, go, go, it's dangerous." The hexagon starfish, who had been silent, suddenly spoke to Han Fei via voice transmission. Looking up, in the sky, a sword shadow crossed dozens of kilometers in an instant and nailed into the deep sea. Chapter 4:16. Not only were Han Fei and the others retreating, but many people were also retreating to the city gate. A hidden fisher shouted in the sky, "Move back. Don't fight. Retreat quickly." Suddenly, he felt that something was wrong. Han Fei looked down, only to find that the seawater under his feet was flowing backward into the sea. Fuck, it was definitely not a good thing to see the seawater flowing backward. He didn't know who sent out that sword light just now. He didn't know what that sword light was going to do, he only knew that the sword ray was very strong, so strong that he would be crushed if he touched it. Xia Shaochan said, something's wrong. The ground is shaking. Han Fei looked at the trembling gravel with a solemn face. Suddenly, someone shouted beside Han Fei and the others, look, what's that? Han Fei and Xia Shaochan hurriedly turned their heads, but what they saw made them feel as if they had been struck by lightning. In their field of vision, it was a crab, an extremely huge crab. Its body was nearly a kilometer wide and hundreds of meters high. Gulp. Han Fei swallowed. Fuck you, Xia Shaochan's eyes widened. What a big crab. Maybe because the crab was too huge, Han Fei could only read its data at a close distance under normal circumstances, but at this moment, it directly appeared in his eyes. Name a crab general, sea demon, introduction at the king of crabs that rules a region. In the endless years, it has undergone countless transformations and evolved into a creature with extremely strong defensive abilities. Its spiritual sense is extremely high and it has excellent intelligence. It is a sea demon that dominates a region. Level. Spiritual energy. Demon heritage. Realm. Companion spirit. Unabsorbable at that time, Han Fei felt that there was no love in this world. If there is a war, we can fight. I'm not afraid of fighting a small crab at all. However, this thing was comparable to the size of Godzilla. How the hell was he supposed to fight it? Whoever has the ability, just fight it. Anyway, I'm not strong enough. Let's go. Of course, Han Fei was a little comforted. For example, one of the crab general's pincers had been broken, and its big pincers were gone, leaving only half of its limbs. The other pincer cut a streak of light in the void, piercing through the clouds. In the end, a deafening explosion exploded in the sky. Rumble, when the mist dissipated, Han Fei saw the strongest commander of the South Gate standing in the air with one hand behind his back and the other holding a sword. Retreat. That person's voice rumbled and reverberated in the sky. Human. Die. As the crab slapped its other claw, a monstrous flood formed in the distance. In the sky, the sword-wielding man glanced back. Everyone, retreat while fighting. Enter the city. For a moment, the city gates opened, and the garrison guards, covered in blood, were organizing a retreat. However, there were too many people retreating. There was still a large number of marine creatures chasing after them, making it impossible for them to retreat in time. Fortunately, some people climbed over the city walls. Although the city wall was very high, it was only about 500 meters high, which was nothing for dangling fishers. Han Fei and Xia Shaochan retreated with the crowd. Han Fei's face changed greatly. This city can't hold on any longer. Such a huge wave can definitely fill the entire city with water. Xia Shaochan retreated and looked at the ground. Wait, have you noticed? This city is descending. Just now, when we came out, it was the ocean 3,000 meters away. Now, look at the water. Han Fei was stunned to find that there were traces of water 500 meters away from the city. Han Fei couldn't help but wonder, if a city fell from the sky, why could it still float on the sea? Either there was something pressing against it from below, or, Han Fei suddenly looked at the city wall. This city has a shocking array. That was the only result that Han Fei could think of. Although he couldn't believe that there was such a huge array protecting the city. It seemed that there was no other possibility. Retreat, retreat, don't fight anymore. Hiss, the ground was shaking, and the hidden fishers were shouting. Han Fei looked back, only to find that above the monstrous wave, there were countless shrimp shadows emerging. Yes, he couldn't be wrong. Those were definitely shrimp. If he couldn't recognize the shrimp heads, why would he run to the sea? Swish, 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 in the wave shadows, shrimp stings shot at him like flying locusts, each of which was flashing with spiritual energy. At this moment, Han Fei and Xia Shaochan had just reached the city wall. Because they couldn't squeeze through the city gate, they could only climb the wall. Han Fei shouted, "You go first." With that said, Han Fei suddenly grabbed Xia Shaochan's hand and threw it up hard. The huge force made Xia Xiaochan's petite body shoot straight into the sky like a sharp arrow. In the end, Xia Xiaochan flashed and stood on the city wall, shouting to Han Fei, "Come on." Han Fei glanced at Xia Xiaochan. "Wait for me. I'll be right there." With that said, Han Fei suddenly stood in front of the city gate and activated the water-dividing seal, which turned into a seal more than 30 meters long in the blink of an eye. Xia Xiaochan stomped her feet in anger. Han Fei had warned her not to be stupid, but now she was being stupid. Was she stupid? Han Fei knew that this city was going to be lost, and there might be stronger existences behind it. But at the city gate, many of the thousands of people had lost their combat power and couldn't even climb the wall. They could only look back at the shrimp stings and wait for death. Their desperate eyes almost made Han Fei's brain cramp. Han Fei murmured to himself, "I can resist them, just one wave. I can only resist one fucking wave." The hexagon starfish was shocked. "Are you crazy?" Han Fei said, "Master Hexagon Starfish, you have to trust me at this time." "I don't believe you. I want to go back to the land of starfish." Han Fei scolded, "Shut up." Behind Han Fei, someone roared, "Boy, get the fuck up. It's not your turn to save us. Come on, don't waste your talent. Kill a few more sea demons for us in the future. Hey! Don't resist them. You can't. Don't die in vain." Han Fei turned around, grinned, grabbed the embroidery needle, and stabbed it into the ground. Big, big, big. The embroidery needle became thicker and taller. However, when the embroidery needle reached a height of about 50 meters, it didn't listen to him anymore. Han Fei was speechless. "Hey! Can you be more reliable? Learn from the golden cudgel. It can pierce the sky." "I don't want you to pierce the sky. I just want you to be as tall as this city." However, the embroidery needle didn't respond. Clank, clank, clank. Suddenly, Han Fei felt that the water-dividing seal was being attacked crazily. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of shrimp thorns bombarded it. Majestic Mystic Spell. At this moment, Han Fei used the Majestic Mystic Spell. His muscles bulged, and a terrifying power spread to his limbs and bones. Even with the water-dividing seal and the embroidery needle, Han Fei still felt deeply helpless. There were too many shrimp thorns, overwhelming him. They were so powerful that his body was bent. Fool! Suddenly, Han Fei felt that something was wrong under his feet. A shadow had entangled him and then turned into Xia Xiaochan. Han Fei was furious. "Didn't I tell you to stay up there?" Xia Xiaochan snorted. "If you don't go up, I won't go up. If you die, I'll die with you." Han Fei's body trembled. No one had ever said this to him in his 2 lives. Xia Xiaochan was the first. He looked at her again, only to see that she was serious and matter-of-fact. Han Fei suddenly grinned and focused all his spiritual energy on the water-dividing seal. He gritted his teeth and roared, "I am Han Fei. I was born to be extraordinary. I won't die here." Clank, 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 clank. The dense shrimp thorns fell on the water-dividing seal like hail, making tinkling sounds. Pooh! Behind Han Fei, at the city gate, someone cursed, "Son of a bitch, kids nowadays are so disobedient. You've got guts, boy. If you don't die, you will definitely reach the peak one day. Okay, boy, you can get out of here now." Han Fei looked back with difficulty and smiled. Then, he saw a blue light shield appear on the city wall. All the shrimp thorns were blocked by the light shield. Sure enough, there's an array. Pooh! Han Fei sat on the ground, and the water-dividing seal became the size of a palm. The embroidery needle also became normal without the support of Han Fei's spiritual energy. Han Fei was exhausted, but he said with a smile, "Fuck, I'm so shocked." As soon as he put away the embroidery needle and the water-dividing seal, Han Fei felt that he was picked up. Xia Xiaochan grabbed him and jumped in the air with a dagger. After a few jumps, she finally landed on the city wall that was full of thorns. Han Fei tried his best, but he could only buy some time for those people. If he did it again, he didn't think he would be able to survive. Han Fei didn't know how many shrimp thorns he had blocked, but he must have saved a lot of people. Xia Shaochan said angrily, "From now on, listen to me and don't run around." With that, Xia Shaochan took Han Fei's hand, jumped off the city wall, and ran towards the inner city. Han Fei said while running, "Hey, slow down. I'm afraid we can't enter the inner city." Xia Shaochan asked, "Why?" Han Fei smiled bitterly. "Don't forget that when we entered the undersea city, the outer city was also a battlefield. At this moment, our top priority is not to run to the inner city, but to rest. Recover your strength and let your combat power return to the peak." With that said, Han Fei took out the unfinished yellow-blooded sea cucumber and handed a large piece of sea cucumber meat to Xia Shaochan. Xia Shaochan was speechless. "You're still thinking about eating at this time? You're definitely the only one." Xia Shaochan took the sea cucumber and took a bite. Ignoring the taste, she asked directly, "As you can see, we can't win this battle. Can we really only go back if we win?" Han Fei smiled bitterly. "Who knows? Anyway, don't think about going back dead if you can. Unless we are the only two people left in this city, unless we are surrounded, we have to survive no matter what." Xia Shaochan nodded heavily. "I always feel that this secret realm doesn't make sense for us to fight. The city has been destroyed for countless years. What else can we fight? Even if we win, can these dead people in the undersea city come back to life?" Chapter 417. An Opportunity. Xia Shaochan was confused. She really couldn't tell what the opportunity was. Han Fei explained, "It can allow people to travel through time and go back to the past." "What kind of person do you think has such amazing means?" Xia Shaochan shook her head. "I don't know." Han Fei put on a smile. "Among the people we saw today, I'm afraid no one has this ability. Just now, we saw that the man with the sword was very strong, right? However, I feel that he might be a law enforcer, or at most an explorer-level character. Anyway, he is about the same level as Old Bai. Do you think Old Bai can go back to the past?" Xia Shaochan shook her head again. "Of course not. If he could, the president would have gone back a long time ago. I'm afraid what happened to the Thug Academy 30 years ago wouldn't have happened again." Han Fei nodded. "Yes. So, this kind of power is definitely beyond our understanding. In this case, if someone really has the means to bring us back here, he must have a purpose." Xia Shaochan rolled her eyes at Han Fei. "I know he has a purpose, but what is his purpose? It's not like he wants us to save the people in this city, right?" Han Fei shrugged. "Then let's take a guess. Assuming that the purpose of our return is not to save people, we are not going to fight this big fish tide. Then why did we come back?" Xia Shaochan thought for a long time and finally shook her head, indicating that she couldn't guess. Han Fei narrowed his eyes slightly. "Either there is a message to convey to us, or there is a legacy that must be inherited by someone. Obviously, when the people in this city die, some secrets will be buried, and this person doesn't seem to want them to be buried." Xia Shaochan's eyes lit up. "Huh, I seem to know." Han Fei was taken aback. "Huh? How do you know?" Xia Shaochan said in surprise, "It's the royal castle. In the center of the inner city, there is a royal castle. As you said, if there is a secret, the secret must be in the royal castle." Han Fei blinked his eyes. "Then let's hurry to the inner city." Unfortunately, when Han Fei and Xia Shaochan came to the gate, rows of guards were already standing there. Most of them were covered in blood and looked ferocious like door guards. Many people were at Zhuluan, but they had no chance to enter the inner city. A hidden fisher came back. One of his arms had disappeared. He was standing on a high place and shouting, "Everyone, fight in the outer city." Defend, someone in the crowd shouted. Sir, how long do we have to guard this place? Can we still win this battle? The hidden fisher said coldly, whether we can win or not, the inner city cannot be breached. Inside are the lifelong efforts of the ancestors of the heavenly desolation city. Your friends, family, and friends are also inside. The inner city will not fall as long as you are alive. As the hidden fisher roared, the garrison guards all pounded the ground with their spears, emitting intense murderous auras. Xia Shaochan asked, "What should we do?" "Wait." Han Fei was also helpless. Now that they wouldn't let you enter the inner city, you couldn't force your way in. Just like the people by his side. Even though all of them were sorrowful, furious, and humiliated, all of them could only sigh in the end. What could they do? The inner city depended on them to protect it. If they left, who would fight? If everyone retreated, it was only a matter of time before the inner city was breached. In the sky, the battle was still going on. The floating light sword broke through the clouds. The earth-shattering pincers seemed to be able to crush mountains and rivers. A huge wave that was nearly 1,000 meters tall was pushed over. In front of everyone's eyes, it was like a crazed wave that slammed into the city's protective array with a loud rumble. Buzz buzz buzz, in just an instant, the earth shook, and the houses collapsed. Han Fei saw that the green light array suddenly dimmed, and it was almost broken by the terrifying power. After this furious wave, Han Fei knew that the outside of the city must have been drowned. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the scene of the huge waves crashing against the array. After the huge wave passed, the coldness flowed down from all directions as if poured from a bowl. Although not a drop of the coldness entered the city, such a scene was undoubtedly vast, shocking, and desperate. Beside Han Fei, someone sighed. There's no need to escape. Wherever you go, there will be a battle. It's better to die here than to escape. Someone grinned as if he had gone crazy. I will protect the peace of a city with my flesh and blood. Even if I die in the battle and turn into a ghost, I will not compromise with these damn creatures. A big man even took out a large piece of dried fish and chewed it on the spot. Fish are for eating. No matter how powerful they become, there will always be stronger people who put them in their mouths and chew them. For a moment, many people were desperate. However, despair didn't seem to bring any relief. So, for a moment, everyone gave up the cowardice in their hearts and decided to fight with their lives. If only 1 or 2 people were like this, Han Fei wouldn't be moved. However, when hundreds and thousands of people were like this, Han Fei was almost infected by their emotions. Xia Shaochan even gritted her teeth, and tears were swaying in her eyes. Han Fei said to her via voice transmission, "Don't be impulsive. Keep waiting." After waiting for about the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, the crowd didn't see the second wave. Instead, they saw an incomparably huge giant turtle. Break. At that moment, everyone in the city saw a person turn into a stream of light, block in front of the giant pincer, and swing a sword in the sky with an ethereal enlightenment technique. As soon as the sword was drawn, the clouds scattered. The sword mark cut through the sky, swept across half of the sky, and even tore a black crack in space. Crack. Crack, crack, the crab's pincer didn't slow down, but it was full of cracks. Just when it was about to rush into the big array, the big pincer was broken into flying stones all over the sky. Every piece of the crab's pincer burned with dazzling flames in the air. The next second, they all fell on the green light array. Bam, bam, bam. For a moment, the city protecting array was smashed by the fragments all over the sky, causing ripples. Every time it hit, the city would tremble. The ground under Han Fei's feet never calmed down and kept shaking. Xia Shaochan took a breath. Is that big crab dead? Han Fei swallowed. I don't know. Sister One also saw it just now. It should be dead, right? Han Fei wasn't quite sure. The magnificence of the sword just now really stunned him. The sword mark shot straight into the sky, and there was no telling how far it was. The mountain-like pincers were chopped into countless pieces in an instant. The power of the pincers could be seen clearly. Crack! Just when everyone thought that the city-protecting array had blocked the impact of the crab's pincer, suddenly, a huge crack appeared on the green light array. A buzzing sound accompanied by an earthquake came crashing down. The moment the green light formation cracked, another monstrous wave came crashing down. Many people forgot what they were doing and looked up at the sky. Ka! Ka-cha! That one crack suddenly turned into millions of cracks. Almost in an instant, it covered everyone's head. Just when everyone thought that the green light array was about to be broken, the cold wave rolled back, and the array resisted again. Phew! Many people subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. Many of them were drenched in sweat and looked nervous. Look, what's that? Someone suddenly saw that above the green light array, a small crab was hanging on it. Biem, Kacha! In an instant, the scorching sun rose to the sky, and the green light array exploded. The cold wave that hadn't completely flowed back directly poured into the city. Fight! Fight! Get ready to fight! Cheer up, all of you! Damn it, brothers, let's fight! The moment the array was broken, many people's hearts died, but they knew that the array would still be broken if there were a few more huge waves. At this moment, on the city wall, the hidden fisher shouted, "Everyone, I'm sorry, but I'm asking you to die." Someone said with a smile, "We've fought for so many years. It's enough. We've already emptied a city. There's nothing to be afraid of." Someone shouted aloud, "Finally, we don't have to fight anymore. Brothers, let's go on another journey in the next life." For a moment, the crowd was excited. Han Fei could clearly feel that these people were not afraid of death at all and were probably ready to die. Han Fei grabbed Xia Xiaochan's hand, fearing that she would act on impulse. Han Fei felt that the people around him were crazy. Before the waves came, these people had already fused with their spiritual beasts and possessed their contractual spiritual beasts. There were even some who had started running forward, as if they were ready to welcome the next huge wave. There was no doubt that in that huge wave, there would definitely be howling creatures. Han Fei said, "Don't charge. Let's just stand here. When these garrison guards and hidden fishers all go out, let's enter the inner city." Han Fei didn't intend to fight this battle. They didn't come here to fight, not to mention this kind of battle that they couldn't win. As he spoke, the huge wave swept over. The war came to an end. First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter, The God of Fishing latest chapter 417. Chapter 417 The Broken City website. Chapter 418. Run. You have to survive. Different from the regular high, Han Fei couldn't estimate what level this high was at all. Many people underestimated the power of water. Under the scourge of the flood, all the obstacles along the way were no longer obstacles. Huge waves rolled and fell. With just one slap, the frontmost row of defensive support was almost instantly turned into powder. The people at the front were blown away by the huge waves before they were ready to resist. They rolled in the cold and were killed by the creatures in the water in a moment of chaos. Especially at the head of the tide, there were some inferior man-fish, who were squeaking while stepping on the tide. No one could tell what they were yelling. These little fishmen's control of water could be said to be superb. Sometimes they would stand on the waves, sometimes they would dive into the water, and sometimes they would attack and kill. The big waves were the trenches that they hid in. The hidden fisher on the city wall was the first to charge out. Although he only had one arm, his sword was still too powerful for the Sun Ho spirit to resist. As for the hanging fishers, Han Fei didn't see them at all. They didn't seem to have come to the rear at all. At this moment, only a few of the garrison guards were left at the gate of the inner city, and the rest of them all charged forward. Goo-goo, the waves came very fast. Perhaps because the waves were too huge and high level, it took less than an hour for the outer city to be flooded to the gate of the inner city. It was not hard to imagine how fierce it was. Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan were almost swept into the waves in the blink of an eye. But fortunately, the cold was not as powerful as it was at the beginning. Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan waved their weapons in the water now and then. Every time Xia Xiaochan's shadowless blade appeared, she would take away one of the creatures. Han Fei, on the other hand, was even more domineering. The blue sea dragon saber was spinning like a top, and the advantage of the saber attacks was very effective in this kind of group battle. Around Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan, almost no creature could survive more than 1 second. Unfortunately, there were too many creatures in the cold. After fighting for only half an hour, Han Fei couldn't stand it anymore. There was no field of vision around them at all, so he could only use his spiritual perception to detect where the descendants were. In his spiritual perception, there were pieces of fish meat, crab shells, shrimp tails, insect claws. Earlier, Han Fei had been doubting the theory that the city was covered in blood. But at this moment, it wasn't just the desolate city that was bathed in blood. If the flesh and blood were spread out evenly, it would be enough to pave the floor of the entire Tianhuang city. When the two inferior man-fish stared at Han Fei knew that he couldn't stay in the outer city anymore. The inferior man-fish had passed the obstacles in front and came to the rear. Xia Xiaochan. Xia Xiaochan responded, "One for each of us." In terms of individual combat ability, Xia Xiaochan was not inferior to Han Fei. Han Fei had seen this when he hunted the inferior man-fish in the outer city. Therefore, Han Fei didn't hold back. When the harpoon stabbed at his chest, his figure flickered, and the blood-drinking knife in his hand flashed. Puchi. This inferior man-fish didn't expect that an intermediate dangling fisher could perform such an amazing attack. Half of the inferior man-fish's body was cut open. When its companion creature appeared, Han Fei quickly slashed at it again. Kacha, the harpoon broke. After another slash and 3 slashes, Han Fei finally killed this inferior man-fish. When Han Fei swam to Xia Xiaochan, he found that the girl was piercing the inferior man-fish dozens of times with a flash of red lightning. The inferior man-fish was covered with wounds from head to feet. Han Fei couldn't help but be surprised. Xia Xiaochan, what combat skill is this? Xia Xiaochan flashed and landed next to Han Fei. 1000 strike technique. I dug it out from the cave of death. When the two of them jumped out of the water, they both had an urge to vomit. The city had completely become a Shura hell, and the coldness in the city had long been turbid. At this moment, a hidden fisher flew backward from a distance. Han Fei saw a harpoon stuck in his chest, which seemed to be from an inferior man-fish. The hidden fisher flew in exactly the direction where Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan were. Coincidentally, 1,000 meters away, a red inferior man-fish broke out of the waves and glanced at them coldly. The hidden fisher was slightly stunned to see Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan. Then he suddenly opened his hand and launched a wave at Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan. Go to the inner city. The speed and means of a hidden fisher were far beyond Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan's imagination. Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan only felt that a wave rolled in front of them, and they appeared in the inner city in the next second. At this moment, the inner city was not much better than the outer city. Half of it had been drowned in coldness, and people were fighting everywhere. The garrison guards, in particular, were mostly fighting in the inner city. At first, the experts above the level of dangling fishers all went to the outer city to fight, leaving the inner city empty. Because of the lack of protection, many garrison guards who had retired stopped going out of the city and began to defend the inner city. Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan's sudden appearance stunned a garrison guard not far away. Their arrival was too unexpected. After a flash of water, they were already here. The garrison guard immediately shouted at them, "Go to the center of the inner city. Now that you're here, don't get yourself killed here." The garrison guard's spiritual beast was a giant octopus. The giant octopus had 9 tentacles, but only 4 of them were alive. Han Fei didn't see any other contractual spiritual beasts. They might have been killed in battle. Without saying a word, Han Fei pulled Xia Shaochan and ran to the center of the inner city. However, two inferior manfish jumped out after Han Fei and Xia Shaochan ran 10 kilometers away. This time, neither Han Fei nor Xia Shaochan intended to attack, because they saw a red inferior manfish dozens of kilometers away. Although it wasn't in front of him, the hidden fisher was defeated by a red manfish in the outer city just now. Swoosh! Han Fei attached little gold and flew to the sky with Xia Shaochan in his arms. In such a situation, it was questionable whether or not they could run away. How could Han Fei choose to fight? Far away, the red inferior manfish seemed to be attracted by Han Fei and Xia Shaochan's flying. However, it seemed to have an opponent on its side, so it simply threw a harpoon at Han Fei. Han Fei's face changed greatly. Damn it! I'm so far away. Am I in your way? The harpoon came so fast that Han Fei didn't have time to react. Bam! Han Fei felt a huge force, and it was Xia Shaochan who threw Han Fei away with a backhand. When Han Fei turned around, the harpoon was already dozens of meters away from Xia Shaochan. Han Fei was instantly enraged. Xia Shaochan! However, Xia Shaochan appeared next to him in the next second and grabbed Han Fei's arm, saying palely, "What are you shouting for? Run!" Han Fei was greatly relieved. Immediately, he flew to the center of the city at full speed. At the same time, he cast the divine healing technique on Xia Shaochan, because his hand that was holding Xia Shaochan's waist touched blood. Han Fei frowned, took out 5 or 6 spiritual fruits and handed them to her. Eat them. They are all healing spiritual fruits. Xia Shaochan was stunned. Where did you get so many spiritual fruits? Han Fei accelerated again. I bought them. In the distance. The manfish had already started fighting the 3 hanging fishers after the first blow failed. However, when it saw that Han Fei and Xia Shaochan dodged the harpoon, it was stunned. At the same time, the 3 hanging fishers were stunned. Although they were not as strong as the inferior manfish, they could still see Han Fei clearly. Intermediate dangling fishers. Immediately, one of them left the battle and chased after Han Fei and Xia Shaochan. In the sky. Han Fei looked at the city that had been half submerged by the cold, the inferior manfish that jumped out of the water from time to time, and the creatures that ran amok in the water, and he was shocked. Han Fei directly used the majestic mystic spell and accelerated again. Because of this, some inferior manfish jumped out of the water from time to time. But at this moment, Han Fei was so fierce that he shouted, "Those who stand in my way will die." An inferior manfish leaped at him and his head was crushed by Han Fei with one hand. Along the way, Han Fei was horrified. What if one day, cities like the Heavenly Water Village and the Blue Marquee fell from the sky into the sea? If faced with these creatures in the level 3 fishery, they probably couldn't even hold on for half a day. And the heavenly desolate city below had held on for 187 times. Thinking of this, Han Fei realized something. After flying for about 500 kilometers, Han Fei saw a few vigorous figures chasing him in the water. It's not the red inferior manfish. But they seem to be faster than the inferior manfish we met before. Swish, 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 when a few harpoons broke through the air and attacked him, the 9-star chain waved in the air, trying to block them. However, at the first collision, Han Fei felt that the 9-tailed mantis shrimp was injured. Carrying him, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp rolled in the air several times. The water-stirring seal hit the last harpoon. Han Fei's face was a little pale. He had consumed too much energy and couldn't replenish it in time. Xia Shaochan asked, "How are you feeling?" "I'm fine." Han Fei's eyes turned cold and he was about to seize the time to fight again, when he saw a person walking on the roof with a longbow in his hand. An arrow of spiritual energy pierced through the air and directly locked on the inferior manfish who were chasing Han Fei. Because of this sudden help, the inferior manfish were blocked and they jumped out of the water. This time, Han Fei finally saw their nirvana clearly. Han Fei was a little shocked to find that the faces of these inferior man-fish were more anthropomorphic than the faces of the inferior man-fish he saw. Hiss. If the inferior man-fish that Han Fei met before was ugly, then these inferior man-fish were more or less acceptable. The difference between them was like the difference between a primitive man who had yet to fully evolve and a human who had yet to fully evolve. Han Fei could even tell whether they were male or female from their nirvana. Han Fei was shocked. Xia Shaochan asked, "Huh? Will they really become human beings?" Han Fei said with an awful look, "I don't know. If I can take a closer look at the red inferior man-fish, I may have the answer." Han Fei and Xia Shaochan didn't dare to say anything, because the helper below shouted at them, "Go quickly. Stay alive." Second night, asking for votes, end of this chapter, The God of Fishing latest chapter 418. Chapter 418 Go quickly. Stay alive. Website. Chapter 419. Han Fei gritted his teeth, not knowing why the man suddenly showed up to help him and Xia Shaochan. He knew that he, as a hanging fisher, couldn't have been a match for the three-man fish in the situation just now. However, before Han Fei figured out what was going on, both of them had goosebumps. All of a sudden, an enormous hand appeared behind them. Their eyes blurred, and in the next moment, they appeared on the roof of a building. At this moment, the building wasn't drowned by the cold. The building was more than 50 meters tall, white and decorated with black mystic stones. It didn't seem ordinary at all. When Han Fei and Xia Shaochan came back to themselves, they saw a white-haired young man standing in front of them. The man had a handsome face without any wrinkles. Judging from his appearance, he was probably in his 20s. Han Fei said, "Brother, you, Pa." At that time, Han Fei was slapped on the forehead and slapped to the ground. Xia Shaochan flashed and stabbed out with her supreme stab. Huh! The young man moved his body slightly and easily dodged Xia Shaochan's attack. Han Fei quickly shouted, "Xia Shaochan, stop!" Xia Shaochan flashed back to Han Fei and stared at the man warily. Han Fei stood up and said palely, "Bro, that's too much." Pa." Han Fei finally stood up, only to be slapped to the ground again. At this moment, he was completely stunned, not knowing how the man attacked at all. Xia Shaochan said angrily, "Hey, who are you exactly? What do you want?" The young man said calmly, "Two kids, you don't know how to respect your elders at all. And you call me brother? I'm older than your grandpa, do you know that?" Huh? Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were both stunned. "Who the hell are you trying to fool? Why are you pretending to be old with that handsome face of yours? You've dyed your hair white. What's the big deal?" Han Fei was smart enough not to call him brother or bro anymore. Behind him, he pulled Xia Shaochan back and took 2 steps back. Who was this man exactly? For a moment, he did not understand. All he knew was that the other party was very strong. The man looked at Xia Shaochan up and down with appreciation in his eyes. He immediately stood in front of Xia Shaochan. "Hey, what are you looking at?" The young man smiled faintly. "Yesterday, my 186th son told me that he met a very beautiful girl. She should be the one in front of me, Han Fei." Xia Shaochan. Han Fei was dumbfounded. "No. Wait a minute. How many sons have you had?" The youth smiled and said, "Number 186. Hiss. Han Fei gasped and looked back at Xia Shaochan, his eyes full of disbelief. Xia Shaochan asked, "Are you, the mayor of Heavenly Desolation?" The young man nodded and said, "Yes, I am the city master, but I don't think you're from the Heavenly Desolation city." Han Fei looked rather unnatural. "Why do you say that?" His hands behind his back, the man said casually, "If you were from the Heavenly Desolation city, I would have heard of a man who has a legendary contractual spiritual beast. Well, to be more precise, a genius who has 2 legendary contractual spiritual beasts. How could I not know him? Xia Shaochan. Xia Shaochan grabbed the flesh on Han Fei's waist and twisted it. Are you talking about legendary? And you said that the nine-tailed mantis shrimp was exotic? Han Fei swallowed too. Well. Senior, are you sure you're not mistaken? The young man looked at Han Fei with a smile. Do you know how to call me senior now? Han Fei chuckled. Senior, you're really good at retaining your youthful looks. How did you get a soldier? I'll ask Xia Shaochan to try it later. The mayor? The mayor was lost for words. Why are you talking to me about soldiers at a time like this? Hee, I don't know where you're from, but it's related to the Heavenly Desolation City. I just want to ask you one thing, can you leave here alive? The young man was extremely solemn when he said that. His eyes seemed to be piercing Han Fei and Xia Shaochan's guts through their flesh. Han Fei knew that he couldn't hide anything or deceive the guy, so he shook his head and said, Xia Shaochan and I came here by accident. We've been looking for a way to leave. Looking for a way? The mayor frowned. Is your way to leave here in the Heavenly Desolation City? Han Fei nodded. 90%. The mayor's eyes glittered. Can you take someone with you? Han Fei shook his head. I don't know, but I don't think so. The mayor immediately asked, where are you from? Han Fei paused and hesitated. Damn it. Wouldn't it be too unbelievable to say that they traveled through time to come here? The mayor said, ever since the Heavenly Desolation City fell into the Sea of Clouds and lost contact with other cities, it has been isolated for more than 200 years. During that time, nobody has visited the Heavenly Desolation City. The two of you are the only outsiders. Just because you can't solve it doesn't mean that I can't. Xia Shaochan said, you can't solve it either. The mayor smiled. Little girl, don't be too certain. Han Fei smiled bitterly. I'm afraid that you can't solve it. The Heavenly Desolation City that we saw has sunk for countless years. The guards and those who are fighting in the outer city have already turned into heroic souls. The mayor couldn't help but release his aura and stared at Han Fei coldly. If I understand you correctly, are you saying that you're from the future? Han Fei smiled awkwardly and didn't say anything. Well, the mayor turned around and looked at the devastated city, the screaming people, and the fighting guards. He smiled casually and said, just as I expected, the Heavenly Desolation City has been destroyed. After about 5 minutes of silence, Xia Shaochan couldn't hold it anymore. Xia Shaochan asked, since you're the mayor, you must be the strongest. Why don't you fight? The mayor looked back at Xia Shaochan. Because it's not time for me to take action yet. Since this city is going to be destroyed, I don't mind letting all the invaders die with it. Han Fei's eyes constricted. Senior, do you have any wishes? Or rather, is there anything that must be passed on? The mayor's lips curled. So, that's why you're here. Han Fei said, it's a complete coincidence that we're here. The mayor burst into laughter. There's no need to explain. In your time, this city had already become a treasure trove. So, you're here for treasure hunting, aren't you? Han Fei immediately swallowed. The man was rather intimidating, but he could infer Han Fei's purpose from only a few words. Also, he wasn't moved at all when he learned that Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were from the future. Instead, he accepted the fact immediately. I didn't expect that the treasure of my city would be entrusted to two young treasure hunters. Then, the mayor looked at Han Fei and Xia Shaochan. The Heavenly Desolation City does have two treasures. I don't know if it's a coincidence or fate, but you've come on the day of the city's destruction. Is this the bullshit heavenly laws? As he talked, a zigzagging behemoth came from the sky and spewed ice flames, destroying dozens of kilometers of land in one breath. A worm dares to show off in the Heavenly Desolation City? Humph. In the next second, the mayor snapped his fingers, and a water-shaped sword flew out and crossed 100 kilometers in the blink of an eye. The sword, on the other hand, had turned into a giant sword. There was no telling whether it was a flood dragon or some other creature. It spat out a dazzling pearl from its mouth, trying to resist the attack. However, in the blink of an eye, his core shattered and his body was destroyed. His gigantic body was completely destroyed in an instant. Not even a single scale was left. Han Fei almost peed his pants in fear. That was a bit too awesome. As if he had done something insignificant, the mayor looked back at Han Fei and Xia Shaochan and said, "Since it's your destiny, come with me." Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were both alarmed. They were so excited. Just now, the mayor said that there were indeed treasures here. Also, they were the treasure of a city. Han Fei found it hard to imagine. What kind of treasure could the mayor of the Heavenly Desolation City have to be the treasure of a city of such a level? The third update. Asking for votes. The author says, wait until the 20th. I really can't wait now. My head is exploding. I'm writing a lot every day. 300,000 words a month is really a lot. Well, I can't let you guess the treasure so easily, can I? Okay, throw me a vote. Hee hee. End of this chapter, The God of Fishing, latest chapter 49:19. Chapter 4:19. Chapter 4:20. The mayor waved his hand. The view before Han Fei and Xia Shaochan's eyes changed, and they found themselves in a cave inside a mountain. It was a large cave with a radius of no more than 1,000 meters. It was no different from a regular cave. However, there was a jade altar at the center of the cave. On the altar, two blue pillars of light about 3 meters in diameter pierced through the ceiling and the floor of the cave. From time to time, there would be water-blue silk-like curved rays of light spilling out from the light pillar, floating around the cave and illuminating the entire cave dreamily. Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were quite surprised. As a matter of fact, they didn't find anything in the two blue pillars of light. They were clearly empty. The mayor stood with his hands behind his back and said casually, "These are 2 drops of chaotic original water. It is safe to say that the changes in the Heavenly Desolate City today are related to them. However, I'm the only one in the entire Heavenly Desolate City who can borrow the power of 1 drop. No one else has been able to do it in the past 100 years. If you're really the chosen ones, give it a try." Han Fei was surprised. Chaotic original water. What's that? The mayor slightly shook his head. I don't know. Nobody knows where the chaotic original water comes from. Every drop of chaotic original water has a different function. I only know that one of the drops has a marvelous technique that I can borrow. As for the other drop, it's up to the chosen ones to reveal it. For a moment, Han Fei didn't even dare to breathe loudly. How strong was the mayor of the Heavenly Desolate City? The casual attack just now had completely stunned him. However, the mayor was only able to borrow the power of the chaotic original water despite his strength. How precious must the treasure be? Xia Shaochan was confused. What if we're not the chosen ones? The mayor chuckled. These 2 items are the only things worth passing on in the Heavenly Desolate City. I think they're the only things that can take you back. Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were both alarmed. There were millions of people in the Heavenly Desolate City. There were so many people here, but they couldn't find 2 people who could obtain this item. Could the 2 of them get it? Han Fei looked at it for a long time and finally asked, "How do we try?" The mayor said, "Just walk in. You'll find your own chance." Han Fei and Xia Shaochan looked at each other and thought, not nervous? That was pure boasting. They had never seen such a precious treasure in their lives, and it was something that could only be chanced upon by luck. Han Fei looked at his wrist and thought to himself, "Master Calabash, it's up to you whether I can survive or not." Han Fei knew that he was different from Xia Shaochan. Xia Shaochan's spiritual heritage was an exotic one, and she seemed to be hiding some secrets. As for himself, without the demon purification pot, with his spiritual heritage and aptitude, he would be an ordinary person at best. Let's go. Wait a moment. The mayor suddenly grabbed Han Fei's shoulder. Before Han Fei realized what was going on, Master Hexagon had been caught by the city lord. Interesting. A hexagon starfish is rare. But it can't go in. As he spoke, the mayor tossed Mr. Hexagon's starfish to the ground. Master Hexagon's starfish was shivering right now. Its whole body was trembling, and its 6 big eyes didn't dare to open at all. The city lord was too strong. He had set up multiple stealth arrays, but none of them could escape the senses of the city lord. Han Fei said, "Master Hexagon's starfish, wait for me outside." As he spoke, Han Fei and Xia Shaochan walked to the altar in the middle without saying a word. On the altar, Han Fei and Xia Shaochan stood before a blue pillar of light. They looked at each other and stepped into it almost at the same time. Without any resistance, Han Fei felt that he had entered a regular pillar of water. However, the water here was finer and clearer than seawater. Outside, the mayor clenched his fists, which had been behind his back. Was it really a coincidence that he met these 2 young men on the day of the destruction of the city? Could they inherit the 2 drops of chaotic original water? In the chaotic original water, Han Fei closed his eyes and sensed it. After a time he opened his eyes again, and looked up. Huh? Nothing. Han Fei frowned. Although the water seemed different from seawater and freshwater, he didn't sense anything special about it. The only thing that Han Fei felt was the fresh water in the mirror of the sky in the white mist salt marsh. They were both pure and flawless. Apart from that, there was nothing special about it. Han Fei turned around and looked at Xia Shaochan, only to find that she was circling in the water pillar. Then, she stared at Han Fei for a while, but she didn't seem to have any reaction. When Han Fei was about to extend his hands, he felt that his body was pulled by an invisible force, and he appeared outside of the water pillar. Less than 2 seconds after Han Fei came out, Xia Shaochan was also ejected. Alas! The mayor heaved a sigh. It still doesn't work. Xia Shaochan said, "Let's try another place." Han Fei thought of something. That's right. Didn't they say that every drop of chaotic original water was different? Maybe it would work if they changed it. So, under the mayor's gaze, the 2 of them crawled into each other's blue pillars. The mayor's eyes flashed. This was his last chance. His face seemed to be flushed. When Han Fei entered the water pillar, he didn't feel anything, but Xia Shaochan's pillar suddenly disappeared. Great! The mayor roared and clenched his fists in excitement, staring at Xia Shaochan without blinking. He had thought that he wouldn't have any hope, but he didn't expect that the surprise would come so soon. Han Fei was shocked too. There was a reaction in the blink of an eye. A rolling stream of water was flowing from Xia Shaochan's body from left to right, from top to bottom, until it disappeared into her body. Han Fei could also see that Xia Shaochan was at a loss. She circled again and then scratched her body, as if she were trying to find where the chaotic original water went. However, Xia Shaochan only searched for a while before she looked at Han Fei. The mayor was looking at Han Fei too. Xia Shaochan had succeeded, but what about Han Fei? Han Fei was rather stunned and nervous himself. "Master Calabash, I'm counting on you. Try harder. This is a great treasure. Just take it." There was no telling if Han Fei's prayer worked, or if the demon purification pot sensed it, but Han Fei felt that the water pillar shivered. Yes, it was just a tremble. At that moment, Han Fei felt that the chaotic original water seemed to be alive. Han Fei sensed that a life was shivering. Because of the shivering, the picture before Han Fei's eyes changed. After a trance, when Han Fei opened his eyes again, he found himself on a boundless ocean. Han Fei looked around in a hurry. Where the hell am I? Suddenly, Han Fei felt that his feet hurt, and he saw that the waves below his feet were not waves of water, but waves of knives. Immediately, Han Fei felt that his blood was freezing. The ocean below his feet seemed to be made of countless water knives. And these sabers were like the waves of the sea, tumbling and surging. When Han Fei blinked his eyes again, the dense knives were gone. The waves were still waves, and there was no trace of the knives at all. Shoot! What's going on? Han Fei raised his hand, trying to check the demon purification pot on his wrist. However, when he raised his hand, a wave suddenly rose on the surface of the ocean. At that time, Han Fei was stunned. Is this under my control? Han Fei raised his other hand. Sure enough, another wave rose on the surface of the ocean. When Han Fei put his hands down, the raised wave became an ordinary wave again. Hiss! Han Fei gulped. He tried to raise one of his hands and waved it around. As a result, he saw that the raised wave seemed to be wrapped in water knives, which darted out and leaped into the sea not far away. Han Fei tried to wave his arm again and let it spin in circles. The waves tumbled and formed circles after circles, drawing an arc in the air. In the waves, countless water knives were spinning. Han Fei was shocked by how fast and how many of them were. When Han Fei put down his hand and looked down, he saw that something seemed to be floating at him from the bottom of the ocean. In the blink of an eye, Han Fei felt that something was shooting into the center of his eyebrows. At that moment, he was woken up with a cold sweat all over his body. Hoo hoo hoo! After Han Fei woke up, he saw that the mayor was holding a light shield with one hand, and Xia Xiaochan was standing next to him, with Master Hexagon's starfish lying on Xia Xiaochan's leg. Han Fei looked around in confusion, only to find that the altar under his feet had collapsed, and the walls of the cave were full of knife marks. The mayor's eyes were glittering. He burst into laughter when he saw that Han Fei had woken up. Ha! Ha ha ha! The mayor of the city laughed so wildly that the rocks in the cave were falling and the wind was blowing. The heavenly desolation city is blessed. What you owe us will be paid back eventually. First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 421. The mayor of the heavenly desolation city was no longer as calm as before. He suddenly went crazy and mumbled something. Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan didn't know what was going on. They only felt that the mayor of the heavenly desolation city was horrifying and sad at this moment. As for Master Hexagon Starfish, it didn't even dare to open its eyes after it saw the mayor of the heavenly desolation city. The mayor looked at Han Fei in relief and then at Xia Xiaochan. The world has its own mysteries. I was punished for stealing the heaven's bloodline for more than 200 years. So this is what I got. After that, the mayor's smile was gone. He looked at Han Fei and said, "Your drop of chaotic original water isn't as good as yours. However, it's still a treasure of treasures." Han Fei looked around at the scene that he seemed to have ruined. "You call this not good?" The mayor grinned. "Your drop of chaotic original water is called infinity water. It can be used to transform water into soldiers. Where there is water, there are soldiers. Of course, they won't be stronger than you are. The infinity water is also chaotic original water that I can borrow power from, but I can't collect it." After that, the mayor looked at Xia Xiaochan. "Can you release it?" Xia Xiaochan blinked. "How?" The mayor said, "Just like a spiritual weapon. You can control it with your mind." Xia Xiaochan opened her hands, and a stream of clear water was gathered in her palm. The mayor looked at it for a long time and suddenly said, "Is it the metamorphosis water?" The mayor said, "Think of it as yourself." "Let's see." Xia Xiaochan was stunned. Then, Han Fei saw that the water was growing larger. Then, it landed on the ground and turned into a human being. After only a few seconds, an identical Xia Xiaochan appeared. Han Fei was instantly shocked. The hairstyle, clothes, height, body shape, and even Master Hexagon Starfish that was hanging on Xia Xiaochan's leg were all the same. That was a little too much. The mayor, however, put on a smile. "So that's how it is. No wonder I couldn't borrow its power." Suddenly, the mayor observed Han Fei and Xia Shaochan carefully, confused and relieved. In the end, he said casually, the chaotic original water is much more complicated than it seems. Perhaps you'll discover it in the future. Unfortunately, I no longer have the time to witness it. Xia Shaochan was shocked too. What the hell was this? An exact copy of myself? Han Fei asked in shock, Does it have combat ability? The mayor slightly shook his head. It might be able to fight if you give some of your spiritual power to it. If my guess is correct, this drop of chaotic origin water is called the myriad creation water, and it can transform into anything in the world. The metamorphosis water. The mayor said, for example, battle suits, weapons, fish, and crabs. You can transform anything you see. You can turn it into anything in the world. I never expected that it was actually a drop of myriad life water. Unfortunately, I can't see it. Both Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were stunned by the mayor's words. A drop of infinity water contained the most marvelous technique. A drop of myriad creation water could transform everything in the world. Just listening to it was amazing. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, Senior, what's the ultimate technique in the infinity water? The mayor smiled casually. That's what you should explore. It's a shame that you're too weak right now and can only borrow its fundamental power. You may have a chance to see it in the future. Perhaps because Han Fei wasn't insightful enough, he didn't think that the 2 drops of water were worth a city. Han Fei frowned and asked, Senior, did the fall of the heavenly desolation city happen because of the 2 drops of water? The mayor snorted. You don't think they're enough? Before Han Fei replied, the mayor said, You don't know the value of the chaotic original water. The 2 drops of water are worth not just 1 heavenly desolation city, but 2 more heavenly desolation city. Han Fei swallowed. But those were human lives. They were just 2 treasures. The mayor suddenly looked at Han Fei and said, The destruction of the heavenly desolation city is unstoppable. However, since you've obtained the ultimate treasure of the heavenly desolation city, you have to promise me one thing. As he talked, mysterious runes rose from the mayor's feet. Those runes were crazily crawling into Han Fei and Xia Shaochan's bodies. At this moment, both of their expressions changed drastically. These things were black and did not look like anything good at first glance, however, they couldn't move at all, as if their bodies had been frozen. Even Xia Shaochan's flash had lost its effect. Don't panic. They're not controlling you, and they won't form any contract with you. In the future, when the runes appear on you, remember to go to the clouds and rebuild the heavenly desolation city. Han Fei gnashed his teeth. What if we fail to rebuild it? The mayor laughed. You will. All demons must be eliminated on the path of cultivation. Mental demons are demons, and mental trials are trials too. I've given you the chaotic original water, and you'll have to pay it back sooner or later. The mayor waved his hand again, and Han Fei and Xia Shaochan appeared on the roof again. However, it was different from when they left. At this moment, 4 overwhelming tides were surging at the 4 corners of the heavenly desolation city, trying to drown the entire city. In the overwhelming tides, Han Fei saw at least 10 gargantuan shadows. Although he didn't know what they were, they couldn't be weak considering how enormous they were. The mayor raised his head and looked at the scorching sun in the sky. If you're really in luck, this will be your only chance to get out. Faced with the tides that rose to the sky, Han Fei felt that it was too horrifying. Even the end of the world couldn't be so horrifying. Han Fei didn't know which floating island could resist such a tide. Then, the mayor suddenly grabbed Han Fei and Xia Shaochan and threw them to the only gap in the sky. Remember, my name is Li Huang of the Heavenly Desolation City. If the Heavenly Desolation City is rebuilt someday, my name will return to the Divine Palace. Han Fei and Xia Shaochan flew to the sky like rockets. Han Fei quickly fused with little gold and shouted at Xia Shaochan, Come here. Xia Shaochan flashed, grabbed Han Fei's arm, and shouted, Look. At this moment, Little Gold's wings left a streak of fire in the sky. Because it was so fast, even the air was torn apart. Down below, Li Huang stomped down on the fortress of the royal capital castle, and it shattered. Then, he stood proudly in the void. My wish has been fulfilled. I, Li Huang, have no more enemies to fear. Ha ha ha. I have a sword that can slay demons and ghosts, I have a sword that can kill millions of enemies, I have a sword that can wipe out all the sea demons in the sea. The sky was enshrouded by the enormous tides and then rose to the sky. At this moment, Han Fei and the others couldn't see Li Huang's face anymore. The only thing that could still be seen was the sword light that had exploded like ripples. How dazzling the sword light was. In an instant, the entire heavenly desolation city was enshrouded by the sword light. Han Fei even felt that his internal organs were rolling and he couldn't calm down even though he was far in the sky. Pooh! Xia Xiaochan's body wasn't as strong as Han Fei's, and she vomited a mouthful of blood. Bam! The two of them rose extremely fast and instantly jumped into the sky-covering tide, breaking through the layers of waves like raging swordfish in the water. In all directions, Han Fei saw many sea creatures swimming in the sea. In the distance, the two of them seemed to be targeted by an inferior man-fish. However, all of this happened in a flash. Before Han Fei could observe the enemies around him, he felt a flash of light from above. Bim! The sea surface exploded. Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan broke through the surface of the sea and saw the setting sun shining in the evening. Han Fei took a breath. Damn, this is not the undersea city. Are we still out? Xia Xiaochan suddenly flashed and left him. Han Fei quickly looked back, only to see that Xia Xiaochan had turned into a shadow and swept across the sea. And on a fishing boat, 5 advanced dangling fishers were staring at them dumbfoundedly. At this moment, the 5 people's expressions changed drastically, and they exclaimed, Han Fei, it's Han Fei. At that moment, Han Fei grinned. We're out. Is this the level 3 fishery? Not good, there's Xia Xiaochan. Run. The 5 advanced dangling fishers almost burst into tears. Damn it, what the hell have we done? We're already ready to leave. Why do we have to encounter these 2 terrifying humans? In the sky, Han Fei drew an arc, drew the blue sea wandering dragon bow in his hand, and shot out spiritual energy arrows. Xia Xiaochan was even faster and killed one of them in a flash. At this moment, the weird 1000 strike technique had been launched. It had nothing to do with Han Fei at all. The 5 people were all cut into pieces by the octagonal blades. Bam! Someone blew himself up, and 2 jumped into the sea in an instant. The remaining 2 were about to run, but they were directly tied up by 2 chains. Before they touched the water surface, 2 knives had been pressed against their necks. Seeing that Xia Xiaochan still wanted to chase them, Han Fei shook his head slightly and said, No, let them go. We can also tell those guys that we've come out. Xia Xiaochan said, These people are very annoying. They've been chasing me for a long time. Han Fei smiled and said, In the future, it'll be the same if we chase them. Xia Xiaochan muttered, I want to eat hot pot, the most delicious kind. Han Fei said, Wait a minute. With that, Han Fei looked at the remaining 2 and said, Hello, it's fate that we met. Let me ask you a few questions. If you answer well, you can get out of here. The 2 of them nodded like chicks pecking rice. Their foreheads were covered with sweat and they were trembling with fear. Han Fei grinned and said, Tell me, what happened in the undersea city recently? Second update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 422. Why did they suddenly appear on the surface of the sea? Han Fei didn't know. However, since the 2 of them could return to the level 3 fishery, it felt great. Han Fei sat casually on the roof of the fishing boat and listened to them talk about some of the events that happened during this period. It's said that on that day, the undersea city was enveloped by thousands of poisons, and Yu and Yang Huan killed everyone. Thousands of experts had fallen in a single night. Later on, many people fled in panic, running in all directions, spreading the news everywhere. It's been 8 days now. 8 days. Han Fei was stunned and looked at Xia Shaochan. We only stayed in the heavenly desolate city for 1 day. How did 12 days pass? Han Fei asked, then what about the 4 main entrances to the undersea city? The two looked at each other and then smiled bitterly. They're all crowded. In front of each city gate, within a range of thousands of meters, I'm afraid there are no less than 2,000 or 3,000 people. Oh, they're trying to stop us. Han Fei's eyes were cold. That's too much. Tens of thousands of people were gathered here just to stop us. When the two people saw Han Fei and Xia Shaochan, they were very frightened. God knew how the two of them came out of the undersea city. Weren't there only 4 gates? Why did they come out without so many people's knowledge? Suddenly, Xia Shaochan raised her dagger and said, why have so many people gathered in only 8 days? One of them said with a bitter smile, because a dragon boat is coming. Han Fei's face suddenly changed. A dragon boat is coming? Where is it? Han Fei was not happy. He hated dragon boats now. All his karma originated from dragon boats. The dragon boat is about 20,000 kilometers away from here. But some people can't wait any longer, so they came here in advance. Han Fei's face slightly changed. Where did the dragon boat come from? Did it come from the seaborne grassland? Huh? Both of them were stunned by Han Fei's question, and then they shook their heads. No, it seems to come from the direction of the steps into the sea. Xia Shaochan suddenly looked at Han Fei. Should we board the dragon boat? I haven't been there yet. Han Fei glanced at Xia Shaochan weirdly. Forget it. Do you want to die now? Let's go, let's go. Xia Shaochan asked, where? Are we going to the steps into the sea? Han Fei sneered. How is that possible? How dangerous is the steps into the sea? Let's go to the Valley of 10,000 Smokes. I heard that Kuang Kuang appeared in the Valley of 10,000 Smokes. With that said, Han Fei stretched out his hand and said, hand over your sea-swallowing seashells and get out of here. The 2 advanced dangling fishers were almost in tears. In the end, he couldn't keep his sea-swallowing seashell. The 2 of them could only reluctantly take out their sea-swallowing seashells, but they were afraid that Han Fei would kill them after taking the sea-swallowing seashells. But to their surprise, Han Fei picked up his sea-swallowing seashell and kicked them into the sea. As Han Fei waved his hand, his eye-catching red-winged god boat appeared on the sea. Ah! Xia Shaochan was so shocked that her eyes almost popped out. Xia Shaochan exclaimed, what a beautiful fishing boat. Where did this come from? Did he snatch it? I also want. Han Fei said gloomily, forget it. I almost died for this fishing boat. Come on, let's go to the 10,000 Smoke Valley. Before Han Fei said anything, Xia Shaochan had already flashed to the wind god boat. Still very curious, she touched here and there, and finally lay on the windshield in front of the fishing boat and rolled around again. Hey, don't be crazy. Let's go, the seawater was instantly ejected out of a big pit. The seawater within a kilometer along the way was directly shot a kilometer away. When the fishing boat broke through the air, it left a circle of sound barrier ripples in the dazzling glow. On the sea. After the wind god boat flew away, 2 heads poked out of the water. Gulp, what a fast fishing boat. Come on, let's go back to the dragon boat. We're rich. The other person was also overjoyed. Yes, let's go back to the dragon boat. The news that Han Fei and Xia Shaochan escaped is definitely worth a lot of money. The news that they went to the 10,000 Smoke Valley is definitely worth tens of thousands of beads. I don't know why they didn't kill us. At this moment, Xia Shaochan clung to the fishing boat and screamed, it's too fast, slow down. Han Fei. Say said, that's how it feels to be fast. In the howling wind, Xia Shaochan shouted, how was my acting just now? Han Fei gave her a thumbs up. Very good. The information that we went to the 10,000 Smoke Valley is definitely worth their sea-swallowing seashells. One day later. On a sea surface leading to the steps into the sea. On a relatively ordinary-looking fishing boat, Xia Shaochan was cleaning up the hot pot. At this time, while cleaning up, she complained, you do it. My cooking is not as good as yours. Han Fei said, wash the lobsters first, and then catch 2 crabs and get some crab paste. Xia Shaochan leaned over, only to see that Han Fei was cleaning a jade slip. She was speechless. What are you doing? After a few minutes, Han Fei threw the jade slip to Xia Shaochan and said, fine. Girls can't even cook. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at? Xia Shaochan snorted. Why should I cook? It's fine as long as you can. Anyway, my cooking is not as good as yours. With that, Xia Shaochan glanced at the jade slip and then exclaimed, Thousand Faces technique? This is... Wow, a demon-level divine quality disguise technique. Where did you get it? Han Fei chuckled. Don't worry about where I got it. It's a long story. Hurry up, learn it first. The two of us have now become the targets of the entire level 3 fishery. We can't go to the steps into the sea with this face. Xia Shaochan happily held the Thousand Faces technique and went into the cabin. Han Fei was in a good mood. This was probably the most leisurely day he had since he came to the level 3 fishery. In the pot, Han Fei steamed the lobster meat, took out the meat, and covered it with crab roe and crab paste. Even the original taste was already fragrant. In another pot, a dozen ingredients were being stir-fried. At this moment, they had become paste, and there was a trace of sour smell in the air. TSK, infinity water, I'm now a man with a precious treasure. I'm no longer an ordinary nobody. In the evening, March rose into the sky, and the bright moonlight poured on the sea. The sea breeze blew, and the waves lapped, making the sea look particularly magnificent. From time to time, chains flew across the sky, sometimes with a big fish on the chain, sometimes with a pile of broken shells. Yes, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp was the best weapon for guarding the ship. Master Hexagon starfish curled up into a ball. Its 6 tentacles were holding a wine jar, and the tentacles were oily. It was the soup that Han Fei had just brewed. Han Fei kicked it to the bow. That's too much. I've never seen a starfish like you. Drinking and eating meat, is there anything you can't do? The hexagon starfish's big eyes were blurred. You don't understand the sadness of a starfish, Han Fei sneered. Why are you sad? If it weren't for me, would you have such a rich life? The hexagon starfish almost turned into a little starfish and crawled into the wine jar. At this moment, it didn't want to talk to Han Fei at all. This human being was too scary. How many times had it thought that it was hopeless? It had even been scared to the point of having a heart attack, okay? I didn't get the treasure, nor the shiny stone, and now I'm not allowed to eat anything. Han Fei, come here. Han Fei quickly rushed to the deck. However, with a swish, he jumped up. Hey! Who are you? Hurry up and change back to your original form. Swish! A pair of daggers had been stabbed into Han Fei's stomach. Say it again. Han Fei looked up at the sky and said, can you be a little more normal? Of all people, why did you transform into Teacher Wenren? Xia Shaochan said angrily, what's wrong with me becoming Teacher Wenren? Isn't Teacher Wenren beautiful? Han Fei was speechless. No. Have you ever considered my feelings? If you become Teacher Wenren, I won't be able to kiss you no matter how I kiss you. Bah! If you don't kiss me, I will become Xiaobai. Han Fei hurriedly stopped her. Hey! Don't, you're going too far. do you really want to see me kiss Luo Xiaobai? Xia Shaochan thought for a while and then tilted her head. Forget it, then who should I become? Han Fei said seriously, first of all, we want to blend into the crowd as normal people, and we have to be a man and a woman. Since our abilities are so high, we must perform exceptionally well. So, we have to give ourselves a nickname. Xia Shaochan silently raised the dagger. Is it like Thug Legend? Han Fei looked serious. Of course not. I have thought about a lot. Let me pick one for you. Xia Shaochan smiled weirdly and pulled Han Fei. Sit down and talk slowly. Han Fei. Cough, cough. Chapter 423. Gulyalu. Naturally, the hexagon starfish had never drunk alcohol before. This was the first time it had eaten with Han Fei, and it was also the first time it had touched alcohol. Almost at the first sip, the hexagon starfish was addicted to the taste of alcohol. At this moment, it was pulling the wine jar and looking at Han Fei, who was jumping up and down. It couldn't help but be horrified. He thought that Han Fei was scary enough, but Xia Shaochan was even scarier than Han Fei. He couldn't afford to offend either of these two people. However, after rolling its big eyes for a long time, it still couldn't figure out why human beings always put their heads together. Bam! Han Fei lay on the ground. Xia Shaochan, you're too much. I still have a lot of creative ideas. Let me explain them to you slowly. 2 hot pot fairies. Knife and dagger fairies. Giant sea demons. Treasure hunting heroes. Xianming young master. 2 villains. Fantastic heroes. Clink, clink, clink. Clink, clink, black and white ghosts. Stop poking. You have to choose one. Huh? Suddenly, Xia Shaochan squatted down. Black and white ghosts. That's a good name. But what does ghosts mean? Han Fei blinked. Huh? Well. Ghosts take souls. Ghosts take lives. Legend. Blah, blah. Xia Shaochan's eyes flickered. I've decided. I'll call them black and white ghosts. Han Fei shivered and got up. Are you sure? Xia Shaochan nodded. Yes. Han Fei said, okay, don't regret it. Come on, I'll draw a picture for you. However, you really have a good eye. The black and white ghosts are so fucking unique. If we disguise ourselves as these two people, no one will be able to associate us with them. 2 hours later, Yi Zichen said. An hour later, the hexagon starfish saw 2 idiots, one in black and the other in white, sitting on the cabin, staring at each other. Han Fei put Xia Shaochan's hat on and said solemnly, from today on, your name is Xie Bian. My name is Fan Wujiu. As for you, you are a battle soul master. I'm a chef. Xia Shaochan immediately pulled her hat down. I don't want to be called Xie Bian. It sounds like a boy's name. My name is Xie Shaochan. You just want people not to know your name, don't you? Can you be any more obvious? Xia Shaochan shook her head. Then my name is Xie Xiaoan. Also, your name is too inauspicious. What do you mean by hopeless? You said you wanted to be a chef, so your name is Fan Datong. Han Fei was stunned. Hey, that's too much. Are you saying that I'm a good-for-nothing? Xia Shaochan reached out and pulled Han Fei's hat askew. Don't think so. After all, you are a chef. A chef should have the appearance of a chef. Han Fei. Han Fei said gloomily, can you be more serious? At least put your hat on, okay? Xia Shaochan said, it's more comfortable askew. Han Fei. Han Fei's identity as a chef had never been shown in the level 3 fishery. Except for once in the restaurant on the dragon boat, everyone was eating at that time, and he was not the only one who threw seasonings into the pot. The point was that Han Fei's identity as a soul warrior and spirit gatherer were too obvious. And those who had seen the blood-drinking knife were all dead, so he could use the blood-drinking knife. As for Xia Shaochan, she didn't use a dagger in the past, so she could use a stick occasionally. Han Fei took out the only high-quality spiritual stick from his countless sea-swallowing seashells, handed it to Xia Shaochan, and said, "Don't use the shadow kill technique. In terms of head-on combat strength, in fact, not many people can beat you. Besides, we have to cooperate now. Whether we are fighting or being beaten, we have to fight together. This is called tacit understanding." Xia Shaochan wondered, "Do we have to go to the steps into the sea first?" Han Fei nodded. "We know very little about the abyssal chasm. In the 10,000 Smoke Valley, we are just bluffing. Sooner or later, we will be exposed. As for the sea grassland and the Cave of Death, we have already explored them. The only place left is the steps into the sea. The level 3 fishery is a place where geniuses gather, and there are more monsters there. If we show up there like this, we will never arouse suspicion." Xia Shaochan asked, "Aren't we going to find Zhang Xuanyu and the others?" Han Fei shrugged. "I bought Zhang Xuanyu's intelligence. Now it's been so long. How can we find him in this vast sea? As for Su Kuang and Xiao Bai, there has been no news of them. I suspect that they should still be exploring somewhere and haven't come out yet." Xia Shaochan waved her hand and took out a wanted list. "Why are you ranked 3rd and I ranked 32nd? Han Fei reached out and closed the wanted list in her hand, saying, "It's okay. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future to make you into the top 3. Maybe you can even become number 1. Seeing that Han Fei's mouth was about to touch hers, Xia Shaochan punched Han Fei's mouth away. "No kissing. I can only kiss you when I want to." Han Fei asked, "Then do you want to kiss me now?" Xia Shaochan said, "No." After a pause, she asked, "What about now?" Bam! Han Fei was kicked to the ground. Speechless, he sighed. Women are really strange and complicated creatures. On the day after Han Fei and the others left, a large group of people suddenly appeared. Something big happened in the undersea city. At first, it was just a rumor that Han Fei and Xia Shaochan had come out and fought a group of advanced dangling fishers. However, no one believed it at that time. The 4 gates of the undersea city were all surrounded. Not to mention a person, even if a crab came out, it would be torn apart and ravaged, let alone a man and a woman. So, this news didn't cause much of a stir, at most it was just a rumor. As for the rumor that Han Fei and Xia Shaochan went to the Valley of 10,000 Smokes, no one believed it at all. However, the next morning, when the sun rose, waterspouts began to surge out of the undersea city, rolling constantly. Then, there was an earthquake here. Then, immediately afterward, the situation here changed. The seawater was monstrous, rolling up thousands of waves. Under the gaze of countless people, the undersea city was shattered inch by inch and then collapsed. During this period, many people ran out of the undersea city, but they were all stopped by the crowd of onlookers. Whether they were advanced dangling fishers or peak-level dangling fishers, none of them could escape. In the end, no one found Han Fei and Xia Shaochan. After a day, in a loud bang, the undersea city completely exploded. It was said that a big dark hole appeared in that sea area. Countless people were sucked into the hole, and countless people were killed and injured. And the dragon boat closest to it immediately changed its course and sailed away from this sea area. When thousands of victims rushed to the dragon boat, all kinds of rumors spread in the dragon boat. Some people said that Han Fei and Xia Shaochan found the peerless treasure of the undersea city, causing the seal of the undersea city to collapse. Of course, this was the simplest and most violent version, and also the version that was easiest to make up. Therefore, the credibility of this news was greatly reduced. Many people did not think that the two of them could destroy such a large city with their strength alone. Therefore, there was another rumor that Han Fei and Xia Shaochan stirred some kind of restriction of the undersea city and were buried with the city. In addition, some people said that an unknown creature in the undersea city was born, causing a great disaster. In summary, it was not clear whether Han Fei had found Xia Shaochan or not. However, he seemed to have done something similar to what happened in the Seaborn Prairie. At this moment, the people who promoted the news the most on the dragon boat were the two people who saw Han Fei and Xia Shaochan. These two people swore on the dragon boat every day, in the name of the sea god, that if they told a lie, they would die a horrible death. In the end, their intelligence couldn't be sold for money, but people gradually believed these two people. However, the problem was that although these people believed that Han Fei and Xia Shaochan might have gone to the 10,000 Smoke Valley, no one continued to follow them. This time, no less than 5,000 people died in the undersea city. Although most people died inexplicably after the undersea city exploded, the cause of all this was still Han Fei and Xia Shaochan. Because of this, the new wanted list came out. It said, Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were heartless and maliciously caused a terrible disaster, killing countless people. Of course, why did these people go to the undersea city? The information on the wanted list was vague. There was no other reason but to highlight the sins of Han Fei and Xia Shaochan. Just as they rushed to the steps into the sea, another big event happened. It was said that in the level 3 fishery, 5,000 kilometers away from the flowstone pit, a fatty was chased by many people because he obtained some kind of treasure. Perhaps because he was being chased too hard, the fat man opened his mouth and swallowed the man, the boat, and the spiritual beast. This also became the most unusual anecdote in the level 3 fishery recently, attracting everyone's attention. First update. Asking for votes. Okay. Someone guessed it right. Chapter 424. 8 days later. Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were sitting on a fishing boat, eating hot pot. In the pot, there was a man who was about to be cooked. Not far from the two of them, a young man was shivering, looking frightened, and almost peeing his pants. Please. Let me go. I really don't taste good. Han Fei held a brick in his left hand and sharpened a kitchen knife in his right hand. Don't you know that human flesh tastes more chewy than seafood? Do you want to see it? At this time, Xia Shaochan was looking up and down at the young man, and after a long time, she said, Fan Datong, isn't he too old? Han Fei asked, Oh. Old? The young man nodded quickly. Old, I may look young, but I am actually almost 40 years old. You don't believe me? Look. I can't even bite myself. With that, the young man rolled up his sleeves and bit his arm, leaving a row of teeth marks. Han Fei said sarcastically, Someone eats his own food? Disgusting. Go away. Don't let me see you. Otherwise, next time I see you, I will break your bones and make soup. After the man left, Han Fei and Xia Shaochan laughed so hard that they couldn't calm down for a long time. Xia Shaochan laughed so hard that her hat fell off her head. How many people have done this in these days? Han Fei clutched his stomach. I don't know. There have been dozens of them. They think we are easy to bully because we are intermediate dangling fishers. As he said, the dummy in the hot pot turned into a mass of water and was absorbed into Xia Shaochan's body. In the pot, there was a half-sized yellow-blooded sea cucumber, steaming hot. Xia Shaochan covered her blushing cheeks with both hands. But, aren't we a bit too obvious? We are both intermediate dangling fishers, and we are so powerful. Won't people think we are related? Han Fei suggested, why don't you make a breakthrough? Xia Shaochan picked up a piece of sea cucumber and stuffed it into her mouth. What about you? Do you want to make a breakthrough together? Han Fei shrugged. I feel that I need to cultivate in seclusion for a while. Xia Shaochan nodded. Then cultivate in seclusion. Anyway, it's still a long time before the 1-year deadline. Han Fei scratched his head. Isn't it too fast to become an advanced dangling fisher now? Xia Shaochan shook her head. No, I found that the realm of dangling fishers is very low. The difference in their strength was unevenly matched. In the same realm, the strong and the weak are like two completely different levels. Han Fei thought for a moment and shook his head. Forget it. The way we act and the weapons we use are completely different from before. Moreover, he had changed 2 faces. Therefore, there was no need to break through to become an advanced dangling fisher. For experts, there's no difference between intermediate and advanced. Xia Shaochan pondered for a moment and found that it made sense. Most advanced dangling fishers nowadays were too weak, including peak-level dangling fishers. Han Fei smiled and said, let's scare more people and then use the banner of the black and white ghosts. Driving an ordinary fishing boat, Han Fei and Xia Shaochan walked very slowly. Along the way, the two of them were either in love, holding hands, kissing, or eating, so, along the way, they walked for half a month and were robbed dozens of times. There was still a long way to go before they reached the steps into the sea. In the past half-month, the happiest one was the hexagon starfish. He drank a pot of wine every day and was very happy. Usually, as soon as this guy woke up, he would be stuffed into a pot of wine by Han Fei. Within 2 mouthfuls, it had drunk itself into a drunken stupor. So, no starfish disturbed Han Fei and Xia Shaochan's world anymore. Xia Shaochan asked, where did you pick up this starfish? It can't hold its liquor well. Han Fei nodded. Yes, it can. However, it's still capable. Let it drink by itself. During this period of time, Han Fei had been practicing the 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies. Although the effect of this thing was getting weaker and weaker. However, it was also excellent for training the flexibility of the body. In fact, Han Fei's breakthrough was very fast and he didn't have much time to stabilize his cultivation. This 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies was of great help to stabilize Han Fei's realm. And Xia Shaochan's taste had become picky these days. Han Fei would throw a spiritual fruit to her every day. Therefore, every day, this girl was particularly energetic, often going to the sea to catch fish, and also took Han Fei to pick spiritual fruits with her. The two of them cultivated quietly for more than half a month. As for the people who came to rob them every day, they were just a joke in front of the two of them. In the past half a month, Han Fei and Xia Shaochan's strength rose steadily. With the help of spiritual fruits, they seemed to be able to break through to become advanced dangling fishers at any time. On this day, the wind was gentle and the sun was shining. Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were lying on an ordinary fishing boat, basking in the sun, hand in hand. Since Xia Shaochan was proposed to by countless people in the heavenly desolate city, she seemed to have a little inspiration about the affairs between men and women. She didn't know whether it was because she had reached the age of yearning for love or because she was kissed by Han Fei, but she was no longer as alone as before. It could be said that under Han Fei's repeated shameless actions, she didn't resist anymore. Han Fei, on the other hand, crossed his legs and thought to himself, in fact, this is not bad. In the future, I'll go back to school with Xia Shaochan, go to the unknown place, go to the 1,000-star city, and establish the heavenly desolate city together. The road of cultivation is quite enjoyable. Thinking about it, he felt that there were many things to do. Han Fei tilted his head. Do you think Luo Xiaobai will be with Zhang Xuanyu or Lu Renkuang in the end? Xia Shaochan. Xia Shaochan asked, do they have to be together? Han Fei nodded. Look, we still have a long way to go. We still have to go to the unknown place, to the 1,000-star city, to the heavenly palace. I don't know how long it will take. There is no one else in our team. The 5 of us will always get along with each other. Something will happen, right? Xia Shaochan tilted her head. Lu Renkuang. Han Fei asked curiously, why? Is Zhang Xuanyu not handsome enough? Xia Shaochan snorted and said, Zhang Xuanyu is annoying. He always likes to play with other girls. Han Fei nodded. Zhang Xuanyu, the playboy, didn't seem to be a good match for Luo Xiaobai. However, he didn't think Lu Rinquang could be with Luo Xiaobai. So, basking in the sun, Han Fei thought to himself, anyway, I can handle Xia Shaochan. Swish. Swish. Swish, suddenly, the sky darkened, and dozens of spiritual energy arrows suddenly fell from the sky. Xia Shaochan was about to dodge, but Han Fei stopped her. Don't dodge, we are the black and white ghosts. With that, a whetstone appeared in Han Fei's hand. As the whetstone turned, it immediately became a boulder, blocking above her head. Bam, 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 when the arrows exploded, Han Fei took back the whetstone. He looked up, only to find that 5 fishing boats were falling from the sky. There were nearly 20 people on the fishing boats. At this time, this group of people was staring at Han Fei and Xia Shaochan coldly. The hexagon starfish swished and hung on Han Fei's leg, feeling that human beings were really terrifying. In fact, it was best to be a pendant on Han Fei's body. Anyway, it didn't think that Han Fei would be killed so easily. The leader of the opposite side shouted, Black and white ghosts, today we are going to execute justice on behalf of heaven and kill you too. Behind this young man, a girl scolded angrily, you two are guilty of the most heinous crimes. You cooked people and ate them. Today, you will definitely die. Han Fei glanced at her. Huh, aren't you the old girl that we let go 2 days ago? Good. I let you go, but you still find people to retaliate? Yeah. Today, I will eat you no matter what. The little girl immediately shrank her head. Brother, did you hear that? Did you hear that? That day, I saw them cooking people with my own eyes. They are 2 lunatics. The leading young man swallowed. From childhood to adulthood, he had never heard of a guy who ate people. Today, he had learned something new. A bearded man scolded, look at the clothes of these 2 people, they are not good people. Who would wear black and white and wear such a tall hat? They must be ferocious people. We can't let them go. Several armorists put down their armor boxes and said, today, you 2 will be cut into pieces. At this moment, Han Fei said to Xia Shaochan via voice transmission, today, it's time for us, the black and white ghosts, to make a name for ourselves. Remember, you can only use ordinary combat skills. Xia Shaochan responded, there are so many people. I'm afraid I can't beat them with ordinary combat skills. Han Fei thought for a while. Then I'll do it. After I beat them away, we'll learn some other combat skills. I have hundreds of sea-swallowing seashells here. There are a lot of skills we can learn. On the opposite side, a manipulator had summoned a large number of green vines and seaweed. However, Han Fei just screamed strangely. Suddenly, Han Fei held the blood-drinking knife and the whetstone and shot out like a bolt of lightning. Xia Shaochan, on the other hand, held a stick and stood on one of Han Fei's shoulders. The 2 of them looked extremely weird. In the eyes of these dozens of people, there were only 2 people on the other side, but they were rushing at the 20 people here. Kill! Han Fei grinned hideously. Majestic Mystic Spell. Han Fei had never used the Majestic Mystic Spell, mainly because he didn't have a chance to use it. When he was in the Heavenly Desolate City, he hadn't used it yet. Besides, in the Battle of the Heavenly Desolate City, the stronger the inferior man-fish were, the stronger the inferior man-fish would be. At that time, Han Fei didn't dare to use it. After all, in that place, there would always be people stronger than him. But now, this combat skill could be used. He and Xia Shaochan had too many restrictions. They couldn't use their naturally endowed spiritual beasts and contractual spiritual beasts. The only master hexagon could only be used as a mobile array. Even so, he still needed to urge them violently. At this time, Han Fei roared, hey, Hey. Die, all of you. Second update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.